Welcome, welcome, everybody. Howdy, howdy. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope my audio's okay. I know that we were having some issues with audio yesterday, so hopefully it's better now. Yeah, it should be okay, I think. Oh, today is the 3rd. There we go. Notes are set up. And we're good to go. You can't see me? Why can't you see me? What? What do you mean? Can't see me, my ass. I think it's just you. I got one guide. I know. Look at this fool over here getting one guide. Is there a reason Doctor doesn't debate UFO, UAP? Is it because he knows something we don't? It's because there's nothing to debate. There's not compelling evidence, one way or the other, right? There's nothing to do. All right. Let us bring up Gerald. Seems like a normal name for a normal guy. Gerald, how's it going? Oh, that's not a normal name for a normal guy. That was a normal name for a not normal guy. What a shame. Dawson, we've spoken before several times now. Would Blitz's gaming channel be Dr. Blitz Debuffs? It is true that in the past I have played, when playing, online games like that, I have played debuff classes. So necromancers, sorcerers, warlocks, that kind of thing. Paul, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good.
Glad to hear it. Paul, how old are you?
I'm 18.
All right, Paul, I don't believe in God. Why should I?
Because I think that theism is probably true.
Well, yeah, that's kind of assumed. If you believe in God, then the question is why should I think that theism is probably true?
Because I think that the physical constants of the universe are fine-tuned for light. So
What makes you think that?
Because I think that I think that theism predicts with a great amount of its probability mass that the physical constants of the universe are fine-tuned for light.
No, I'm asking what makes you think that they are fine-tuned?
Yeah, I think that given that I think that they calculated specifically for certain constants the strength of gravity or the strength of nuclear force that. I think some physicists are seeing that it seems fine-tuned. I don't know. Or
yeah,
if
so
gravity had been.
Perhaps I can clear something up. The typical calculations that you'll see for that are, suppose for a moment that the constants were some other value. Maybe the ratio of the electromagnetic force to the gravitational force, or the ratio of the electromagnetic force to the strong force were different. Then what would happen? That's a thought experiment that you can conceive of. And then you can say, oh, well, if this was changed by this much, then it would follow that, life couldn't exist or structure couldn't exist, whatever. That's a thought experiment that you could do. But what we don't know is whether or not those constants even could be different, or how much they could be different by. So, I mean, you can run all of the thought experiments you want by imagining what the world would be like if the constants were different. But that doesn't therefore imply that the constants could have been different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that like I don't think that the argument here is that they like could have been different, but given the constants that we have, we would expect them to be finely tuned because like
If the constants couldn't have been different, then there's nothing fine-tuned about them.
okay, wait, are you saying that like like if they are finely tuned, then by definition it could have been like some other way that like would predict like non-life if like the constants weren't the way that we were?
Yeah, roughly. The idea is that in order for something to be fine-tuned, you should think of fine-tuning as like winning the lottery, right? And so when we say that something is fine-tuned, what it means is that there were a whole bunch of ways that you could have lost, but you won. And that's unlikely, right? But what I'm saying is, we don't know how many tickets were bought as part of this lottery in this analogy, right? If there's 1 billion tickets that were bought and only one can win, then yeah, absolutely, that would be very, very unlikely. But if you're the only person who bought a ticket, then you're guaranteed to win. So the question is whether or not there are other ways the constants could have even been. Is that even possible? Like, is that even physically possible? And if it's not physically possible, then we have no reason to think that it's fine-tuned. If it is physically possible, then we have some explaining to do, perhaps.
I mean, I wouldn't see like that it's logically impossible, but
Logical possibility is very, very cheap. We're not talking about logical possibility. We're talking about, in some sense, physical possibility.
okay. Then I guess I guess it like I could just take it to be like an inductive case that like the way that the other constants could have been like specifically like gravity, if it was like slightly weaker, then there would be like no galaxies or like planets without like specific life permitting conditions.
Yeah, but again, that's assuming that it could have been slightly weaker.
I don't know. I think I've seen like a couple papers on like if gravity were slightly weaker than
Yeah, you can run the thought experiment. There's no issues with running the thought experiment. That doesn't mean that it's physically possible for that have to been the case, or for that to have been the case, right? Like, for example, I could run a thought experiment and be like, well, what if, let's say I don't know a lot. Let's say I'm not a particularly well-read or well-informed person on mathematics. And I'm like, well, what if pi was 4? Well, then, and then I would come to a whole bunch of conclusions. And I'd be like, okay, well, that means that pi, being 3.1415 and change, is finely tuned. What are the odds that it was actually this number and not 4 or 3.5 or 2? But then we learn more, we dig deeper, and we find out, oh, pi has to be 3.14159, etc. Right? There's no other option for it because it is the ratio of a circumference of a circle to its diameter, and that number has to be 3.14 and change. It couldn't have been 4. So what I'm suggesting is that you can run thought experiments and you can ask, okay, what are the consequences if we assume XYZ thing were the case? But that doesn't therefore imply that it is possible that it's the case. Physically, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know other values are physically possible, but I mean, the physics that we do have, I mean, treats them as some sort of variable. I guess by
to be clear,
them,
it treats them as constants.
yeah, I think that if the constants were even necessary, I think that given the epistemic probability that we do have, which is basically just like the rational degree of belief given that the evidence that we have, rather than like just objective physical chance, then our like best like gravitational constants would be more expected under theism, is what I'm trying to argue.
So if you want to say that it's more expected under theism, for example, that's a comparative statement, right? What that means is something like the probability or the credence that you should assign to the constants being this value under theism should be higher than the credence that you should assign for these constants under some sort of non-theistic position. The issue is that we have no idea how to assign the credence on the non-theistic position.
So I mean, can't we just use a model for that though? Because like you could just assign it to naturalism.
No, my point is like, even if you just take naturalism in like the standard way, we have no idea how to assign that credence for the constants being what they are.
Okay, by credence, like, what do you mean?
This is your epistemic certainty, let's say. How confident you are that XYZ thing is the case.
I mean, yeah, I think that given, like, under theism, like, I think that the posterior probability that, like, a powerful creator would be, like, interested in life would select certain constants that permit life, but under naturalism, there would be no agent that would favor these, like, constants, so the outcome would be highly surprising given the
It
posterior.
would only be surprising if you assume that constants could have been anything. But that's what I'm saying you shouldn't grant, or at least you shouldn't believe without, strong reason.
I'm not trying to argue that, like, the constants are arbitrary, but rather that if we were to take a theistic position, then we would expect that a god would want to design life-permitting conditions given the values that we do have.
So, okay, it sounds like this same argument would suppose for a moment that, somebody wrote a paper and they said, oh, well, if pi was 3.5, or if pi was 3.15, then galaxies couldn't form. And they did the analysis, and, it turns out because pi shows up in all these formulas, right? All these physics formulas. If pi was 3.15 instead of 3.14, if you change pi by just a little bit, then it follows that life couldn't form. And then you would say, well, of course, this is an example of fine-tuning. Of course, God would choose pi to be 3.14 and change, because if not, then there would be no life. And under the physicalist worldview, or under a naturalist worldview, or what have you, you have no reason to think that pi would have been 3.14. But if you use that exact same argument in that context, you are coming to the wrong conclusion as far as what your credence is for the physicalist worldview, right? The physicalist worldview requires that pi is 3.14 and change. This is a necessary outcome. This is not something that you can just change willy-nilly and therefore assign a low probability to it being a specific value.
I mean, I think that we really haven't found much of a necessity, though.
Okay, but you understand that your argument would function identically for the dumb person who doesn't know anything about geometry?
Yeah, but, like, even if I were to grant that, the necessity itself, it could still be finely tuned.
Fine-tuning is a statement about the outcome being a certain way, despite it being low probability. If it's necessary, then it's not low probability.
Okay. So I mean, maybe, like, with your analogy, if, like, pi had to be, like, a certain value for gravity to work, then, like, why is the structure of the universe such that, like, necessary geometry permits, like, stable, like, orbits and complexity?
Sorry, I don't understand what the question is. Can you go ahead and ask it again?
Yeah, like, if pi was this certain value, then, like, for, like, life to work, and, like, why is the structure of the universe such that, like, the necessary geometry would permit complexity or permit, like, orbits?
Are you asking why is it that we need pi to be 3.14 and change in order for life to exist?
Yeah. So, like,
such that, why is it that pi being 3.14 implies that life is possible? Like, why couldn't it be that 3.5 implies that life is possible? Well, that's perhaps a good question, but that's also a question for the theist position as well. If God can create life in any way, what is the explanation for why God needed to choose the constants to be this way in order to create life?
I would say because I would say that the posterior probability that, like, a powerful creator would be interested in life would set constants in a certain way, which would.
But why would it fix the constants to be this way? I mean, look, you're saying, why is it that the structure is such that in order for life to exist, you have to have pi as 3.14? And so I'm saying, why is the structure of the universe in such a way that in order to have life, the constants have to be this value, such that the God you're proposing is constrained by that structure? Why couldn't this God just produce life using any value of constants?
Because I would say that, like, they could like be necessary.
Okay,
could be,
but
like,
that's my argument.
I mean, I could, like, grant.
If the structure is necessary, then there's nothing to explain why you need pi to be 3.14 as opposed to 3.5 in order for life to arise.
Yeah, well, the necessary constants still could be finely tuned, and we would
No,
expect
they
that.
can't. If they're necessary, then they're by definition not finely tuned. Necessary means that that's the only way that they could have been. And if that's the only way they could have been, then the probability of them being that way, absent anything, is 100%.
Okay, like let's say that there was a deeper law that would necessitate these certain constants at like exactly like values. Why would that law, rather than like one of the most like many conceivable laws, produce these sterile universes? Like,
That's perhaps a good question. You could ask the same thing about, why do circles in Euclidean geometries have this property that, the ratio of the circumference to the diameter is 3.1415 and change rather than being 3.5? And it could just be that that's what it means to be a circle. And insofar as that's what it means to be a universe, it would have some kind of laws that imply some consequences. But again, this question about like why are the deeper laws such that these kinds of constants are exactly the kind of constants that imply life, that's exactly the kind of question I can ask about the God too. It seems like fine-tuning actually puts the fine-tuning argument in seems to imply that the creator is actually quite limited.
Okay. So I mean, I guess if I just take the position that like I would grant this possible necessity, I mean, the current constants that we do have would make life permitting outcomes, I guess, low credence than under like single universe physicalism, because I think that if like life permitting condition, the probability of life permitting conditions given theism and an interest of life would be greater than the probability of life permitting conditions given physicalism or like a single universe.
Wait a minute, are you saying that the probability of life given say, let's say necessary theism, for example, you're saying the probability of life given necessary theism is lower than the probability of life given theism and a creator that wants to create life?
I said that the probability for theism, life permitting conditions, that theism given plus an interest in life is higher. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't know how it can be higher when if you have physicalism plus necessity, then the probability is 100%.
Okay. So I mean, can't I just also add? Wait. Okay. Wait. Why would it be 100% if you add a necessity plus?
Because necessity. So it. Depending on how you're doing your like probability assignments, one of the ways that you might do probability assignment is something like take the possible ways the universe could be, and then take the sum total number of ways that the universe could be, and use that to divide the number of ways that you want to show that the universe is. So, the universe could be. There's only one way that the universe could be life permitting with its certain constants, but there are perhaps 100 ways that the universe could have not been life permitting, and so then you say that the probability is 1%. However, if the constants are necessary, then that means that there's only one way the universe could have been. So 1 divided by 1 is 100%.
I mean, I just don't like see how that would be the case under physicalism. I would say it's like very surprising.
If it's necessary, look, so if it's necessary, then you just shouldn't be surprised. Now, the question is whether it's necessary, and that's something that we don't know.
Okay, so you would say that like the specific condition, like given physicalism and necessity, were like that can be like conjunctive.
Sorry, you cut out there for a minute. One more time.
I just don't see how that would be conjunctive there with like necessity and physicalism. Like, I mean, I mean,
do we agree on what necessary means? Necessary means that there's no other way it could be, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no other way it could be, then
is it that life permitting conditions are the necessity?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, sure.
Okay.
I guess.
So like, look, there's two different hypotheses here. There's bare theism and bare naturalism. These aren't enough to resolve what appears to be fine-tuning, right? Bare theism doesn't tell you that the divine being would create a universe with these constants, and bare naturalism doesn't explain these constants either. So we can add hypotheses, right? We can add additional hypotheses. We say bare theism plus a desire to create life in this way. That would explain the That would explain the constants, sure. But we could also say naturalism plus necessity of these constants. That would also explain these constants. And so I just don't see why one should have a higher degree of willingness to accept a divine creator that wants to create life in this specific way, rather than just a necessary condition for, or a necessary property for the constants being this way. It just doesn't seem like one is more preferable than the other.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, like, could you maybe give the argument for why there would be like a reason preferring like life conducive necessities over like
No. I'm saying that given fine tuning, one should be agnostic. So I'm saying that there probably isn't a reason to accept one over the other. I think that fine tuning is probably not evidence in favor or in favor of either of either theism or atheism.
Okay.
And so so what I'm suggesting is that like it seems like if you want to make the fine tuning argument, you need to give a reason as to why one should prefer the theistic position over just the the naturalistic necessary position. Otherwise, it just seems like you should weight them equally, and then it's just not evidence at all.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't really have any other more arguments, so I guess I'll concede then.
Okay.
But thank you.
Of course. Thanks for being here, Paul. Oh, he left on his own. Okay. That was honestly a fairly fruitful conversation about fine tuning. All right, let us bring up, what is that? Good night, Meowsy? Good night, Meowsy. How's it going? You were on the show.
Oh, hello. How's it going?
Welcome. Your microphone's a little bit quiet. Do you mind talking into it a little bit more?
Oh, yeah. How is this?
Oh, that's better. So, good night. What, I don't believe in God. I imagine you do. Why should I think that the God you believe in exists?
I guess I wanted to ask you, I'm not a debate lord or anything, so excuse me if I'm kind of slow at this. I wanted to just know, do you just believe in the full absence of a God, or do you take the position of I don't know?
Well, my position is that we have good reason to think that no God exists. Now,
so why is it that
of course, I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong about a lot of things, but you know, I wouldn't take a position on it if I thought that I had a good chance of being wrong.
Right. I guess the default position, like that a lot of people take, is that there is no God, and I guess I'm just wondering why it's difficult for a lot of atheists to, and I would ask the same to a theist. Why not say I don't know?
Well, look, if by knowledge you just mean like absolute 100% certainty, then yeah, I don't know. But I don't know a lot of things. Like I don't even know you exist with 100% certainty, right? You could just be like, an adapted LLM that's using a voice mode or something, and it's, somebody told it to join a Discord server. Like, I don't know that with 100% certainty either. But when people say, I know X, I know Y, what they mean is that they have a good reason to think that X is true. They have a good reason to think that Y is true. And the reasons to think that it's not true are less reasonable, for example, or are less consistent with their observations. So, look, that's all people mean.
But wouldn't it be more accurate for them to say, I believe X, Y, or I don't believe X, Y, rather than, my belief is
so then you think that I would be wrong if I said that I know that you exist? Should we just remove the word no from our vocabulary? Like, no means something. It means something in English.
There are some things that we do know, right?
Do I know that you exist?
I would think you do because I'm here and speaking.
Well, no, you could just be like a highly trained LLM with like a unique voice.
But even if I was, I still exist, don't I?
Well, okay, that's why I changed it. Do I know that you are a person?
I mean, you don't know, but
okay. So then, should we just remove the word "no" from our everyday vocabulary? Like,
but just because you don't know I'm a person or not doesn't mean you would assume that I'm not a person. So are you assuming that I'm an LLM?
No, I have good reason to think that you're a person, so that's why I use the word I know you're a person. That's why I use the word know. I have good reason to think you're a person.
Right.
That's how we use the word. If you're just upset,
upset's
not the right word. You're clearly not upset, but
I'm not a
if you just
Christian or
want to criticize
anything,
like the
but
use of the word, like then it's just a semantic conversation.
well, I suppose it is. I just don't like when people say like, there is no God or there is a God. I just wonder why is it so hard for us to say, I don't know if there is a God or not. I believe there may be one, but
Are there?
for
Do you
definitively,
have
I don't
hands?
know. Yeah, they're right in front of me.
How do you know?
I can see them right here, and I can.
You know
feel
them for certain. You know that for certain?
That I can feel my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
How do you, well, no, not that you can feel your hands, but that you actually have hands.
Well, yeah, I can feel them, so I.
Yeah, but there are things that you can
therefore
feel that aren't real. You can feel things in dreams.
Well, no, I mean, I feel in the sense of like a tactile,
Yeah, you can have tactile sensations in dreams. Those things aren't real.
But the tactile sensation in the dream was not something I would experience awake. So I think I would make that distinction.
How do you even know you're
distinct.
awake?
Right.
Look, if we use what you mean by know, then you end up in hard solipsism. You don't know anything except maybe that you exist. Which is why nobody uses the word that way.
So then you just think that agnostics should take a hardline position of being atheist?
No, I think that we should use the word agnostic to mean something like unsure, 50-50 on the fence, something like that.
Yeah, got it. Okay, that's all. I was just curious to see your take because he seemed like a pretty smart guy. So
Okay.
I was like, I don't know. I want to see what he says about this.
All right, fair enough. Take care. Okay, let's bring up our next guest. Let's bring up Critter Sean. Oh, I need to read super chats after this next guest. Critter Sean, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Good, glad to hear it. Critter Sean, do you believe in a god?
Yes.
Okay, now look, I don't. I'm an atheist. That's what the word atheist means. Why should I believe in the god that you believe in?
I think their existence is more likely given to some naturalist hypothesis, I guess.
Okay, how do you come to that conclusion?
I think fine-tuning motivates that.
Were you here for that entire conversation that I had with the other guy about fine-tuning?
No, I kind of jumped in at the end, so that's why I wanted to hear why you don't think fine-tuning works.
Yeah, okay, so roughly my position is something like this. We have two hypotheses. We have bare theism and we have bare naturalism, neither of which can account for the observational data that we have. There's just not enough hypotheses there to say anything, right? Now, you can add auxiliary hypotheses. You can say that, under theism plus a god that wants to create life as we see it, well, then you can account for the observational data that we have, right? But if we're allowed to do that, then we are also allowed to modify and add auxiliary hypotheses to naturalism. So we can say, well, naturalism plus a necessity, like a physical necessity of the constants being the way that they are, also perfectly well explains the observational data that we have. So it seems like we don't really have a good reason why we should accept your auxiliary hypothesis rather than mine. So under my view, fine-tuning, or the apparent fine-tuning anyway, just doesn't give us any reason to favor theism over atheism, because
why would the naturalist be allowed to do that?
The same reason why the theist is allowed to do it. The theist says, well, we're going to attach an extra property to our god, such that the god wants to create a universe that is this way. And the naturalist says, well, if you're going to attach an extra property to your god, we're going to attach an extra property to our universe. The universe is the physical, whatever the underlying physical rules are of the universe, those physical rules are such that the constants had to be this way.
There's a way that's fallacious, because that's
What's fallacious about
it? The reason why the atheist or the naturalist gets to do it because the theist does it, which is a fallacious reason.
The point is that neither auxiliary hypothesis is particularly more well justified than the other.
Yeah, but the justification for that is because the naturalist can simply copy what the theist does, but the theist is asking the theist is questioning the naturalist, which is, why do you get to that? You can't say, well, because you do it too.
Why does the theist get to do it?
Well, I'm questioning you first.
Look, so I think that it's at least plausible that a necessity condition for the constants being the way they are is, like, I think that's quite plausible, actually. We see some constants are necessary. In fact, we give them names. They're just Greek letters typically. Like pi. Pi is a necessary constant. It couldn't have been any other way. And so we at least have an example of a constant being necessary, and that constant shows up all over the place in physical laws. And if that constant were different, then our universe would be extraordinarily different and perhaps not even life permitting. So the point is that there is at least some reason to think that constants can be necessary. Now, I ask you, what is the reason for why God would be the kind of God that wants to create life in this exact way?
Yeah, sure. So even if the constants are necessary, there are like epistemically conceivable cases in which the constants...
Okay. I don't care about epistemic conceivability.
Well, you should, because I can use your pi example. Let's just say you had an 8-year-old nephew who had no background information on pi. Now I asked your 8-year-old nephew, hey, what's the 20 digits before the millionth digit of pi? And your 8-year-old nephew answers this correctly. What's the likelihood of something like this occurring?
The likelihood of that occurring, so the hypothetical where your 8-year-old nephew doesn't know anything, it'd be pretty small.
Incredibly small. But yet the numbers of pi, they're necessary. But yet there are conceivable cases in which the answer that your 8-year-old nephew can give it largely favors that they would get it wrong, correct?
Yeah. I don't see how this is a good analogy, though.
The reason why it's a good analogy is because there is a point in time before we did not recognize the kinds of constants that govern our universe. And now the question is that of fine-tuning. The question they're trying to ask is, hey, before we recognize these constants that we deem necessary, what's the likelihood that we would find these constants, given that we can conceive of numerous amounts of universes that might be hostile towards us, or these constants?
We can conceive of these universes. We can conceive of these universes. It doesn't therefore follow that those universes could actually exist.
Depends upon the relevant modality here.
We're talking about some sort of, like, not quite metaphysical modality, but we're talking about like a modality where the underlying structures of physics are in place, but perhaps the constants are not necessarily fixed. That's the modality that we're in right now when we're talking about fine tuning.
I don't believe they were talking about the physical modality.
Of course we are. We're talking about ways that the universe could physically be.
Yeah, that can also be a kind of question you can ask under the epistemic modality. Epistemics
doesn't tell you anything about whether or not something is possible or necessary. Conceivability does not imply possibility.
So I'm not saying conceivability implies possibility. Well, actually, there's kind of more to that, because possibility is not really clarified as to which modality. But
we're talking about I already specified what modality we're talking about. We're talking about this sort of like super physical modality.
So I'm not sure if the no, I don't think we're talking about the physical modality. Now, I already granted to you that this stuff could all be physically necessary.
If it is physically necessary, then there's nothing to explain.
No. Even if it's physically necessary, just like in the case where it's necessary that pi is the way it is, it's still unlikely that your 8-year-old nephew would guess those numbers correctly. And that's still cries out for explanation.
The failure of the analogy, and I can explain this because I understand that there might be some confusion here.
Sure.
The failure of the analogy is that you're assuming that, okay, so suppose that so for the sake of argument, we're saying suppose the constants are necessary, and then you're treating the 8-year-old nephew as the universe. But the 8-year-old nephew is in some sense picking what the 8-year-old nephew is going to say is the next 20 digits of pi or whatever, picking those in some sense randomly. But the universe can't pick those randomly if they're necessary. There's only one option for the way that they could have been. It would have been like, if you asked the 8-year-old nephew, to, let's say that they only know the numbers 1 through 10, right? If you ask your 8-year-old nephew to say, like, tell me a number between 1 and 10, and then they said 8, you'd be like, oh, what are the odds that they said 8? Well, those are the only things that could have happened. There's nothing surprising here.
The thing I have to address here is that picking, I don't know how you can pick something randomly. Maybe.
Well, that's what you're treating the 8-year-old nephew as, right? You're treating it as like something that is completely uninformed, is perhaps agnostic, has a uniform probability distribution of for a certain option, right? But the point is if the constants are necessary, the probability distribution is not uniform.
if they're necessary, well, even if, well, I mean, that supposes a particular notion of randomness. I'm not too sure if I accept that. But
okay, you can change the word randomness to just like some like probability distribution of how the nephew is going to pick the number.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that
the probability distribution for necessary constants is not uniform. It's not. It's in fact, it's not even a proper distribution. Well, okay, it's technically a distribution, but it's a what's the word? It's not a smooth distribution. It's not a continuous distribution. It's none of these things.
As long as it's, why is it? Well, I don't think it has to be any of these things. As long as it's a distribution. That's
well, it's a distribution that peaks at one value and is zero everywhere else. That's what it would mean to be necessary.
I mean, but still, even if there are necessary, there's still an explanation. Like unless like, because it can still be necessary. It's like the question is, okay, why is it necessary?
Look, the analogy, I often give the analogy of pi. What it means for there to be a circle in Euclidean space is for the circumference of that circle to have a ratio, or the length of the distance around the circumference to be 3.14 and change times longer than the distance across the circle. That's what it means for there to be a circle in Euclidean space. And so similarly, what it could mean for there to be a universe is for there to be constants of a certain way.
Yeah, but that's just like brute. It's just a brute explanation.
No. I mean, like, look. Is it so? Suppose that we live in like this Euclidean space, right? Is it brute to say that pi is 3.1415? Like, no, that's just what a circle is, right? A circle is like the thing that has this property.
Yeah, but how would you get that from the universe existing? Like because nothing about just the proposition a universe exists doesn't imply that there will be necessary constants.
Look, that's the question, right? That's the thing that like at least it's at least conceivable that it does imply that, or that at least could imply that. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is like, you know, that this has like some sort of, you know, possibility in some sort of modal sense. What I'm saying is that like this is something that I don't think that we can rule it out. I don't like, especially if we're allowed to add auxiliary hypotheses to our bare metaphysical view, then why can't I add that as my auxiliary hypothesis when you're adding the this specific kind of creator hypothesis to your bare hypothesis?
Well, that's what I'm challenging when it comes to you, and your response is because the theist does it.
Well, my point is that we can't rule it out, so we should at least give it genuine consideration.
Yeah, sure, I'm fine with that. Okay. But I'm saying in this case, the theist, what you're saying is basically what the theist is saying. Like that, maybe I didn't clarify it more, I didn't explain it more. I'm just saying the kinds of conceivable hypotheses that we have, they don't seem to be the kinds of things to be ruled out, because it seems that, you know, these kinds of designers under the broad design hypothesis would care and would be motivated to find the relevant relevant data.
So I'm not sure what kind of theism you're proposing, but it seems like that there's kind of two options here as far as the theism that you're proposing. There's either the theism where the divine being is also, you know, maximally powerful, in which case there is no particular set of constants that are required in order to create life, so the theism can't actually account for why the constants are the way they are. Or the theism that you're proposing is a sort of limited theism, which would indicate something like, well, the creator can only create life by choosing these specific kinds of constants, in which case we still need to explain why those specific kinds of constants are the kinds of constants that give rise to life, and we also need to explain why why there's this creator at all if it's not particularly powerful. Like, what is it even doing?
Well, I think you can propose, so there's different kinds of theism. Particularly for me, I'm a panentheist, so I don't think God is all powerful, but I do think he's infinitely loving and infinitely knowledgeable. So sure. I think the kind of prediction when it comes to life as to why he chose these particular constants, I would say because he's constrained by the physical parameters of this universe. And I think the bias when it comes to
constrained by the physical parameters of this universe.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would say, but the physical parameters of this universe are the constants.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So he's constrained. Wait. So then where did those constants come from that he's constrained by?
I'm confused. What do you mean
Look, so you said he's constrained by the physical parameters of the universe. The physical parameters are the constants.
Right. I'm saying.
So
when it
how
comes
is he
to him
constrained by
selecting-
things that he chooses?
So I was about to answer that. The reason why is because I think there are there's sort of these constraints put upon God, which are these. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Molinism.
I know the term, but I can never remember what it means. So go ahead and explain.
Just basically the view that when God is selecting particular universes, he selects the ones that are most feasible, and by feasible, it just means that that it maximizes or brings about the total amount of goods, such as secondary causation, creaturely freedom, so on and so forth. So when I say he's constrained by physical parameters of these universes, the reason why is because if he were not, the kinds of things he would be able to create would violate secondary causation or creaturely freedom.
So can you explain to me why he needs these constants to create life in that way? That that's maximally that has secondary causation, has creaturely freedom, etc. Why do the constants need to be this way rather than some other way?
Yeah, I would say that these constants were the ones that were the most feasible, which is why I would say this is why we're here.
Wait, why are these ones the most feasible rather than some other set?
So I think that was like one of the criticisms. Like, I think we can imagine a set of constants where there can be there can bring amount of more creaturely freedom or better secondary causation. The thing is that like I don't think such universe exists.
So you don't think that there are you don't think that there are ways the universe could be where the constants are different, but you still have this kind of creaturely freedom and this kind of secondary causation?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't think that there are ways the universe could be where you have causation whatsoever without these constants. And so if we take a universe to be a thing with causation, then we have necessity.
I mean that's fine. Like, you can have.
So it seems like the models are equally explanatory.
You have a universe with causation. I mean, that's fine, but we'll be doing the explanation for secondary causation and creaturely freedom.
I don't care about those. Those just happen to come about as a result of whatever these constants are. I'm just saying a universe that has any causation at all is the universe that has these constants.
No, I'm saying, look, I'm fine with that. I'm saying
so there's no explanation needed. I mean, like or put another way, the fact that a universe having causation, suppose that we say that that's the kind of thing that a universe is, it's a thing with causation, then it would therefore follow that it must have these constants, and as a consequence of having these constants, you therefore, in some sense, by fiat, you automatically get, life and creaturely whatever.
I'm saying, look, even if there's a universe, the issue is that even if you say, okay, look, there's a universe with causation, right?
Yeah, and the only kind of universe that can have causation is the one with these specific constants.
Right. There's only yeah. So I'm saying, well, that's fine, but how do you then infer that? Okay, then there would be creaturely freedom.
Well, it happens to be that these constants are the ones that allow for creaturely freedom.
No. Where would you get where would you get the terms creaturely freedom from? A universe has.
Well, you can just derive that from the physics. Right, it has these constants, it has these laws, you write down the laws, you make some predictions about the kinds of structures that can form, and you end up with stuff that, complex structure that can, be alive, etc.
That's what I'm challenging. Where's the prediction coming from?
It's coming from the laws and the constants.
I'm challenging that specifically. The laws and the constants, these particular things that we write down. Yep. How do we go from there to there are creatures on Earth that have creaturely freedom?
Well, to be clear, I don't. By creaturely freedom, do you mean like some sort of like free will, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even grant that there is like libertarian free will in any sense. Okay, so are we talking like just like a compatibilist notion of free will?
Yeah, compatibilist.
Okay,
notion.
so then all you need to do is you just need to start working out what kinds of structures can form given these laws of physics. Like, if you're really, really sophisticated and you're really, really good at doing discrete mathematics, what you can do is you can show that protons can form given these given these constants and the underlying structures. And then you have protons, and electrons are part of the underlying structure, and once you have protons and electrons, now you can have atoms. And once you have atoms, well, now you can start talking about laws of chemistry, and those are in principle derivable from laws of physics. And then once you have chemistry, you can get biology, etc. So like, I mean, it's not so like, if you're asking me, how do you show that you can get life from just these fundamental constants? Like, that's obviously a hard question, but the fine-tuning people are not, if you're trying to make a fine-tuning argument, that's not what you're trying to do. That's not the argument you're trying to make.
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying here is the reason why it is a hard question is
well,
because
it's a hard question because the math is hard, not because there's some deep philosophical thing that's missing.
Well, yeah, because that's more of an empirical thing. But what I'm saying here is that what I'm saying here is the generation of the relevant data, the kinds of things I'm saying, the secondary causation, and that of the creaturely freedom, and that of the compatibilist notion, it's just a lot more simpler to be explained, and it doesn't really take much. It's just the idea that there's just some designer behind it. I don't have to say that, well, there's these protons, these photons, and they arrange.
Wait, you still have? I'm sorry, you still have to do that. Unless you're suggesting that there are actually no laws of nature, no laws of physics, and in fact, this designer actually just kind of by fiat just declared that creatures would exist, even though there's no underlying structures that keep those creatures existing.
No,
right?
I'm saying the reason why the creatures exist is because of this designer.
Yeah, and the designer passes through all of these fundamental physical laws, right? The designer sets the physical laws, sets the constants or whatever, and then from those physical laws, you can show that once you assume certain constants and certain physical laws, it therefore follows that you will get secondary causation, creaturely freedom, etc. That's what you're saying, right?
Right.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, look, once we get to the point that those constants are fixed, nothing else needs explanation.
Yeah, but the question is like, okay, once you get to that means there's a point in which they're not fixed.
Well, we're talking explanatorily, right?
I don't know what that means.
Once we've explained for why the constants are a certain way, in your case, you explain by having some desire, some fine-tuned desire of the God, and I account for it by saying causation is the kind of thing that requires these constants. Once you've accounted for why these constants are what they are, then everything that follows afterwards needs no further explanation.
No, and I'm saying I was challenged. So I'm assuming this is a stalking horse objection, and I already
mildly, but it's actually closer to a sort of I don't actually know what the phrase would be for this, but what I'm suggesting is actually that we probably don't have a good reason to accept either hypothesis at the moment. We don't have enough data.
Yeah, but the problem is that like this could bleed through to like every evidentiary argument for and against God. If you're fine with saying that like evidentiary arguments for and against God is just insufficient, it just doesn't work. But I think low key I think that's kind of a bullet. I don't think people are willing to buy an atheist.
So I'm not making the claim that there are no ways that you could provide evidence for God, or there are no ways that you could provide evidence against God, or whatever. What I'm saying is that the specific question of fundamental constants, this is such a finicky question, and we know so little about it that I just don't think that we're ready to come to conclusions about it. Like, it could be in 500 years when we have completed physics that actually it turns out that the complete physics actually does allow for many distinct possible constants, and the complete physics perhaps doesn't allow for a multiverse, say. And if that's the case, then this would indeed be evidence for God, but we're just not there. Like we don't even know if the constants that we see are fundamental.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if they are fundamental. The kinds of constants have you looked into the fine-tuning argument for discoverability?
For discoverability? No, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's just the idea that...
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the idea that the universe seems to be... there are these constants that seem to be... fall into a narrow range that allows for science to be legible. Particularly that I think it's called the boron to photon ratio with the CMBR.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I think that's probably not the best framing of the fine-tuning that you want to do, because essentially what it says is like, look, there's all of the constants are a certain way so that we can actually discover what they are. But if the constants, so suppose that in actuality there are, say, 50 constants that describe the universe. Now we only know of like 25, but perhaps the remaining 25 that describe the fundamental features of the universe are outside of the realm of discoverability. Well, you can't then say, all of the ones that we've discovered, they had to be that way because they were discoverable. Like, of course the ones that are discoverable are going to be discoverable. This is kind of a tautology. So there's not really any, like, if there were fewer constants that were discoverable, then we would have discovered fewer of them. So I'm just not sure how discoverability gets you anywhere.
I don't know if I want to say that, because then doesn't that imply that there are things that are these constants that are undiscoverable? But then even if they are undiscoverable, they would at least be detectable, right? Because like
not necessarily.
Well, I think it would be plausibly that they're detectable, because like, for example, I think the way I understand, I think dark matter, we haven't discovered dark matter, but we can detect the effects of it due to how it affects with gravity.
Suppose that there are some constants that describe the interiors of black holes. Those are not even in principle measurable. You can never go in, measure it, and then spread the word, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no science that you could do to figure out what the constant is that describes the interior of a black hole. That would be in principle undiscoverable.
But the question is, are we able to detect those kinds of things?
No, you wouldn't be able to if it only has an effect on the interior of the black hole.
No, as in like detect as in like we're able to know about it.
No.
But
I mean, okay, so I shouldn't say no. Like, in principle, it's possible that, like, depending on how quantum gravity ends up being, it could be the case that we could figure out how quantum gravity is without knowing what's going on inside a black hole, and then we could use that theory of quantum gravity to try to infer something about the interior of a black hole. But we would never be able to verify that, indeed, what we think is going on inside a black hole is actually what's going on inside a black hole.
So that's what I'm using as the separation, which is the verification, which is that if verified, that's how we get through that of discoverable. But if not verified and yet we are able to at least know about it, that's how I would say by detectable. Now, I would say that I wouldn't want to say that there are these undiscoverable entities that exist, because at least they would be detectable, right? They would be doing something, and we would at least be able to know about it. But then you would be saying, no.
But to be clear, it's totally plausible, and in fact, it's within like standard physics that you could just have undetectable physical stuff.
But then I think that sounds very like it's kind of like kind of like sounding like magic. There are these entities that exist that are completely undetectable, completely undiscoverable, and they do exactly nothing. Well, I don't know. That seems very implausible to think about.
I mean, look. So suppose that we're in our observable universe. We can never leave our observable universe. That's what it means to be the observable universe. And suppose that there's just a different kind of matter that exists outside beyond the observable universe. So that's stuff, right? It would be doing its own thing. It would be doing its own its own matter kind of things. But we would never know about it. We could never know about it. In principle, it could never have an influence on the observable universe because it's outside the observable universe.
Oh, see, I would probably, but then I would just probably deny something like that exists. I don't see the point.
Okay, but it's to say that, you can deny that it exists. You can say that, it may as well not exist. That's fine. I would agree with you on that. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that this is like some impossibility. It doesn't mean that this is like something that like could not be the case. And by the way, furthermore, there is an issue. There's an issue called underdeterminedness, which I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but roughly the idea is that there are more ways to describe the universe than essentially there is, just because of fundamental features of the way the world is, like we can't arbitrarily increase the energy because you'd form black holes, and black holes are not probable, for example. There's insufficient data to determine with certainty which of the plethora of quantum gravity theories is correct, right? Like you could always have multiple theories that describe the same set of observed phenomena. And these theories can be finitely specified because there is a finite amount of data that we could observe. So it seems a little bit problematic for the discoverability, the fine-tuning of discoverability, if it's the case that you can never know for sure, even within the realm of like observable physics, which theory is the correct one.
Well, I'll take a look at that. That's interesting. I never heard of that before. But I do have to go walk my dog.
Fair enough.
It was a good conversation, Dr. Blitz. Have a nice day.
Likewise. Thanks for being here, Critter. I gotta hydrate and I gotta read some super chats. All right, let's read some super chats really quick and then we'll bring up our next guest. Scroll down a little bit, from Curtis Marsden with the $2. I'm kind of broke right now, but you look beautiful today. Well, if you're broke, don't worry about me. But I do appreciate it. It's very kind of you. From Victor Weirich with the 5 Brazilian Reyes. Hello, Dr. Blitz. If you were to make an apologist argument tier list, where would you place fine-tuning? It depends on the version of the fine-tuning. So most theists make a fine-tuning argument that's like F tier, but there are versions of fine-tuning like the versions of fine-tuning that relies on, like, okay, if somebody is doing a fine-tuning argument and they actually know physics, then it's like A or S tier. It's one of the best arguments that they have. Not to say that it's a good argument, but it's one of the best. But I think it's I'm very, very disappointed in people when they make the fine-tuning argument and then also don't know what physics is, don't know anything about physics, like what these constants are, you know, how you could even come to the conclusion that if they were different then you wouldn't be able to have life. It's kind of just like repeating things and it's not really thinking critically and making a good argument. So yeah. From Tim Davidson with the $5. With all the repeat names I've seen in all the chats I'm in, they're either 12 atheists total or we truly are everywhere. True, we are everywhere. We are many. From Waftcast with the $2. If God not real, then when was tree invented? Good question. Tree was invented a few 100 million years ago. And from Kumbies with the 20, I don't know what DKK is. Danish kroners, okay. With the 20 Danish kroners, thank you so much, by the way. Remember to like the stream. Yeah, guys, remember to like the stream. Don't be a jerk. Like the stream. And from John with the $10, thank you so much, John. Or Jonna, I'm sorry. What are your thoughts and opinions regarding the theory that the Milky Way is inside a black hole? Well, the Milky Way is not in a black hole, unless the entire universe is. But I don't think that the entire universe is in a black hole either. All right, I just want to double check something. Okay, so we do have some guests on Discord. Oh, and we also have at least one Cash App that I got to, that I have to take a look at. From L'Oreal, as always, thank you so much for the $25. It's very, very generous of you, L'Oreal. By the way, this is for your weekly lava tithe. By the way, I do have a Venmo now. The Venmo is, what, it's like at Blitz PhD or something? So if you want to use Venmo, feel free to. It's not on my website yet. I still need to add it, but it does exist. So if Venmo is your preferred method, then that's how you can do it. So let's bring up another guest, this time from Discord. Let's bring up Felix. Felix, how's it going? Felix? Oh, Felix left. Felix? Felix, you're up.
Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you and your microphone sounds robot-y.
You hear me now?
Still not great. Is there a way that you can talk closer to your microphone?
What about now?
That's better.
That's better?
A little bit.
Okay, is it good right now?
No, not really. I mean, it's better, but it's still not good. Felix, I'm going to ask you to see if you can fix your audio. That would be really good because the audio is just really kind of crap, unfortunately. Let's bring up the next guest, Mechanical Living. Mechanical Living, you are on the live stream. You have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Mechanical Living, how's it going? Mechanical Living, can you hear me?
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Mechanical Living, do you believe in God?
Yeah, okay. So, see, I'm very confused because I have the YouTube on the phone while I'm
okay, you should
chatting
turn off
with
the
you,
YouTube.
So it's repeating. So it's repeating, actually.
Yeah, so you should turn off the YouTube. Just close out of the YouTube. You can still hear me here.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, so I closed the YouTube. So
That's
I'll
exactly what I
start.
asked you to do. Yeah. Okay. So why should I believe that a God exists?
Okay. First of all, let's define what is going to be God. All right.
Yeah. Okay. How
God
do you define the
is
God that you believe in?
yeah. Okay. I will define it, and I will get it checked by you for your own satisfaction. So God is the originator and the inheritor of the world.
When you say
Does
originator,
that sound right?
when you say originator, does that mean something like does it have a mind? Did it do it? Did it
No,
originate the world intentionally?
Don't think through human. Let's give it a
Did it have intention?
No. Let's not paint it through
Well, look,
human
if you
eyes.
use a vague
Let's call it the
definition
source.
like that, I would say that it's plausible that there is an originator for the world. I don't know what it would mean for the world to inherit the world, but that doesn't mean that a God exists.
No.
In the in the understanding that I have.
Let's not come to the point. All right. Let's not come to the conclusion. I'm not saying that proves God.
I'm not
all right?
saying
We were on the first
I don't
step.
think you're saying that proves God. I'm just telling you that that definition is not compatible with the standard understanding of what a God is. Like, you can be an atheist and still think that the universe has an originator. An originator doesn't have to be anything with intention.
Okay. Okay. I want to ask you.
So do you think that the originator has intention?
I think he has no intention. The originator
Why do you
has
call
no
it
intention because I want to give it a pronoun that's not a neutral pronoun. I want to give it agency.
It doesn't. If it doesn't have intention, it doesn't have agency.
No. Okay. Let's digress. All right. I want to ask you 3 questions. Can you grasp your hand?
Can I grasp my hand? Yeah, sure.
No. Can you grasp your hand? No,
Yeah.
you cannot.
Of course I can.
Cannot.
I have another hand. I'm doing it right now.
No, I'm not. Okay. Can you bite your teeth?
Probably not. The teeth are the thing that do the biting.
No, right? And the third question is going to be: can you see your eye?
In a mirror, sure.
No, not in a mirror, but you can't see it, right? The way
Unless I
you
use a mirror,
see
of
the
course.
person in front. Yeah, it's because the instrument and the awareness that's looking through that instrument is so one that you can't really differentiate between the instrument. All right, that's why when I asked you can you bite your teeth, it sounds paradoxical, right? The thing that defines
it's not paradoxical.
biting.
The answer is just no, unless one of your teeth falls out, right?
Yeah, but it's
so mechanical living. Just to be clear,
as well,
is the God that you believe in? Does the God that you believe in have intention?
No.
Okay, then
because intention,
it seems then I'm fine believing in whatever you believe in is consistent with atheism as far as I'm concerned. Because as far as I'm concerned, you can have a naturalistic origin for the universe, and if it's naturalistic, then it doesn't have intention, but it's still an origin, so there's just no issue there.
Okay.
So it seems
no
like
problem.
this is just compatible with atheism. So unless you have some actual meaningful metaphysical worldview difference, then I don't know where we're gonna go.
I think you're limiting God. You're limiting with you're defining
I'm limiting
God
by giving God by supposing that if God exists, then God has agency, that God has intention. That's limiting God.
No. When you say God has agency, and when I say God doesn't have intention, they have separate different meaning. All right. Okay. So let's.
When something doesn't have intention, then it doesn't do anything on purpose. And as far as I'm concerned, being an agent means being able to do something on purpose. So yeah, I mean, like, they are separate words, but if you don't have intention, I don't see how you can be an agent. Meaning that you wouldn't have agency.
Okay. How is this definition? God is inside and outside of what is.
I don't know how God could be outside of what is if God also is. How could God be outside itself?
Yeah. Okay, so this is a really good question, and
it's to be clear, that was a rhetorical question. I was pointing out that there's a contradiction in the view.
No, it's going to work. Okay, so the three terms we need to really understand.
Can a thing be outside itself?
It will be, and you will like it. You will like the explanation
too. A thing can be outside itself.
Yeah, a thing can be outside itself, inside itself, and be itself
well,
at the same time.
I think kind of by definition, if you take inside to be like subset inclusion or like subspace inclusion or something like this, then a thing by definition is inside itself, in that the subset, in that the whole is a subset of the whole. But I don't think a thing can be outside itself if you take inside to be a subset and outside to be not a subset, because a thing can't be not a subset of itself. It can't be a superset of itself. That's actually a theorem. It's a mathematical theorem.
I know it's a theorem. Okay. Let's can I interest you in a really funny example? But before that, we need to meditate on three words: contingent, necessary, and impossible.
Oh no, this is gonna go so well.
Yeah. So the three words: contingent, necessary, and impossible. All right. Now let's imagine we're in a different world, and you, sir, can I ask your name, please?
You can call me Blitz.
Blitz. All right. Let's say in this parallel world, Blitz is a famous actor and a famous celebrity.
I'm familiar with modal necessity and modal contingency. These are all things that I'm familiar with. So you could just make the argument. You don't have to. We don't have to meditate on it. You can just make the argument.
Okay. So the point I'm making is the center of the circle. The center of the circle is simultaneously inside and outside of the circle.
No, the center of the circle is definitely within the circle. It's definitely inside the circle. It's definitely not outside.
See, it's the reason it's outside of the circle is because it's the condition of the circle. Because
it's the condition of the circle.
It's the condition.
The center of the circle is the condition of the circle. I don't know what you mean if you're using the word condition there.
Can there be a circle without a center, please tell me?
Sure, actually. You can just take it as an abstract topological space.
Which type of circle are you talking about?
Just an abstract topological space. The topological S1, not embedded in anything. It doesn't have a center.
And it's a circle?
Yeah. Has all of the mathematical properties of a circle, topological S1.
So it doesn't have a center?
Does not have a center because it's not embedded in a higher space. It's not embedded in a larger space. So there's nothing but the circle. The circle's the only thing. It's not embedded in some larger space that makes it two-dimensional rather than just one-dimensional.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about a disk, you could also have a disk. A disk has a center, definitely. Can you have a center without a disk? Sure, it would just be a center of something else. But by this argument, then, everything is inside and outside everything. Every property is inside or outside everything that it's a property of, which is kind of nonsense.
Okay, do you think the space inside a room is infinite? Do you think the space inside a limited room is infinite? No, right?
Yeah, obviously.
It's finite? Would you say it's finite?
The volume is finite, yeah.
Okay.
Is something happening?
No, I'm just meditating or contemplating how to best explain this.
Okay.
Uh,
Hopefully,
maybe
the way that you
maybe
best explain it will
maybe
end up being an argument for God. That'd be good.
See, I'm discovering myself too. You know, the reason I came here is because I want to know if I can clearly put in words what I feel is the true divine thing.
Well, I think that we've already
Okay,
established what the answer to that question is.
can you restate that so that
Don't worry about it.
I feel good.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay, what about a Mobius strip? All right.
What about it?
You know about Mobius strip, right?
Yeah.
You know about Mobius strip, right?
Yep.
So
What about
let's say we're on a Mobius strip and we're walking on that straight road. You're in a way it's a circle, right? It from some angle.
No, it's not. It's not a circle. It's
I know
cyclic,
it's
if
not
that's
a
what you're
circle.
saying, but it's not a circle.
Yeah, it's cyclic, right?
Sure.
It matches some property of
Yeah, it shares
it's
some things in common with a
cyclic.
circle. Sure.
Yeah. So it's through that Mobius strip a person walking away can come from the inside to the outside and from the outside to the inside of that
No,
circle.
there is no inside and outside. There's only one side on a Mobius strip.
Okay.
There is no inside or outside.
Okay, have you thought about these three lines? In the beginning was the Word was God, and the Word was with God.
I mean, I've
Have you
definitely
ever
thought about them. I
about
don't think that they're that deep.
It's not?
Not really.
Okay, so I have an example that you really closed off.
Is one of these going to be an argument for God?
See, I'm making an argument about truth, and
Okay, but
I see
the conversation is about theism and atheism, not about truth.
I think theism and atheism are positions. I think a person can be in both, yet neither of those categories. You know.
I think that that is endorsing a contradiction.
Yeah. See,
I don't think that we should
love
endorse contradictions.
I love contradictions.
I don't. Look, if you're going to go ahead and endorse contradictions, and that's going to be required for the worldview that you hold, then it's just not going to be compelling to me.
Okay. Because it's not logical, would you say? It's not consistent?
Yeah, because in fact, I actually think it's probably impossible for the human mind to genuinely hold true a contradiction. I think that's probably impossible regarding the human mind.
Have you heard about this guy, Graham Priest?
Yeah, I know his name.
You know it, right? And I think you must also know about the fact that the tetralemma, the word tetralemma.
No, I don't.
Like, okay, you know the dilemma, right?
I know what a dilemma is. I mean, I know what a tetralemma is. It would be some sort of statement, or it'd be some sort of option, or some sort of scenario that has four possible options.
Yeah.
But I don't know what specifically you're referring to.
Yeah, so the four options are: a thing is real, a thing is unreal, a thing is both real and unreal, and a thing is neither real nor unreal.
Yeah,
all right?
That seems like a false tetralemma. In fact, it seems like it's actually a true dichotomy. Either a thing is real or it's not, and there is no other option. Can't be both, can't be neither.
No, I think I disagree.
I don't know how you would have something that is both real and unreal, unless you're equivocating on the word real, of course.
Okay, is love real? Would you say is love real?
Yeah, depends on how you mean real, but yeah.
Right?
It's a real
but
phenomenon.
in a way, in a way, if you want to reduce it to activities in brain, you can't really find it love. You
Well,
can't
then we're
find love
equivocating on the word
for a
real.
specific.
If by real you mean like, is it like a phenomenon that we experience? Then absolutely. If by real you mean like something made of particles, then no. But you can't say that it is both real and unreal in the same sense. Like, that's just an equivocation fallacy.
See, the felt experience of love might be real, but the word love, all right, just the word of it, it's not real, right?
Are we going somewhere with this? Like, how
We're
is this
going
getting
with
us to
it.
God?
See, the wordness of love.
Did you just say
is
the wordness?
outside. Yes, the wordness.
I'm sorry, why? Why did you say the wordness? I don't think love has wordness. Have you considered the wordness of wordness?
Yeah, I've considered that.
Is the wordness of wordness real or unreal?
It's neither real nor unreal. It's
so the wordness of real is
itself.
not real, which means that there is no wordness for wordness. So wordness is not a word. So why are you using
Tao,
words that are not words?
No, you come close to Tao, you come close to the Taoism, the eternal Tao that can't be spoken is.
If this is close to Taoism, I'm glad I'm not doing that.
But you're enjoying it,
In a way. Enjoying it is a strong word. Tolerating perhaps is the correct word. So, look, are we going somewhere with this that is directed towards the topic of the conversation or no?
Okay, so a god is a necessary being that is the interface that that shows or that reveals the contingent nature of seemingly necessary, and God is the event God is the event / the agent that introduces new impossible to the world. This is my definition.
So that seems consistent with atheism. If God is just whatever is necessary that, allows for the possibility of contingency.
Yeah.
Okay, that's consistent with atheism. Welcome to
the
atheism.
The only absolute is
God
contingency
is dead.
itself.
Like,
God is dead, God is dead, but he's alive
God also
through us.
undead? Is God both dead and undead?
He's not dead, he's not undead, he's dreaming. And he's never waking up. You know why? You know why? God's never waking up.
Hold on. 1 sec. Are we talking about Azathoth here? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know the word you're referring to. I'm sorry.
Azathoth is the dreaming god who dreams all of reality. Yeah. So we're talking about Azathoth.
I'm talking about Vishnu. I'm talking about Krishna and Vishnu, who are also associated with, they're dreaming the world. We're part of their dream.
Okay, so
Krishna.
like Azathoth is real, just by a different name.
He's real in effect. He's unreal in concept.
So the concept isn't real. The effect is real. Sounds like what you're telling me.
Yeah, the felt experience of me feeling that, all of this feels so orderly that a person, we're all inside a person, an organizing principle.
But how organized is the unorganization?
When I think about stuff like this, I'm reminded of lines by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, where he says that, regularities have irregularities.
Why are you dodging this very important question that I asked? How organized is unorganization?
I'm answering. Irregularities have regularities, and regularities have irregularities.
But I was asking about how organized is unorganization. Is it organized or is it unorganized? In the same sense.
I'm trying to think about it.
Well, by all means, go ahead and think about it. I'm going to let you go and bring up somebody else that I can have a coherent conversation with. But thank you for being here, Mechanical Living. It's a good bit. I just don't know if we need to let the bit go on forever. Atheist Cat, thank you for the party laser. Very generous of you. And from where is Waldo with the 2 Canuck bucks? Let's not define God as anything definable. That seemed like what was happening, and I was very perplexed by it. From Garba Gaiman with the 5 Canuck bucks, God could have made life in all natural universes, but also unnatural ones. We could be in the Toonverse, violating identity and Euclidean geometry. True. The law of identity is violated in the Toonverse. And from where is Waldo with the 2 Canuck bucks? The birdness is the wordness. True. Indeed, the birdness is the wordness. Now, look, before we continue, and I'm going to bring up another guest in just a minute, but before we continue, I just want to remind you that if you want to support me, the best way that you can do it is by becoming perhaps a member on YouTube, or a super fan on TikTok, or a subscriber on Twitch, or a patron on Patreon. All of these are going to run like $5-ish bucks, and they give me some sort of consistency, and it encourages me to keep doing this more, because A, I know that I have people that are certainly interested in watching, and B, it reduces my anxiety, is what I really want to say. And it also comes with perks. So you get access to a special Discord chat in the Discord server, a unique and secret one. You also get access to emojis on the various social media platforms. You get access to my live stream debate notes, which I sometimes refer to on these live streams themselves. And you also get access to the Ask a Physicist subscriber only mode live streams. So for an hour and a half, twice a week, you will get me answering just your questions, and you can basically guarantee that your questions will get answered. So consider it. Obviously, if the money's not there for you right now, don't worry about it. Just you watching is enough. But if you have the money, consider it. Anyway, let's bring up Peter G. Facts. Oh, Peter G. Facts, where are you going? All right, looks like Peter is not coming up. All right, let's talk to Voodoo Warrior Albinguscat. What a name. Voodoo Warrior, how's it going?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Voodoo, I don't believe in God. I imagine you do. Why should I?
Are you looking for what's objectively true?
Yeah, I'd love to know what's objectively true.
Why?
Because it interests me. I'm curious about the world, and, I want to know what's true about it.
Well, like, why though? Why does it interest you? Like, what's
I don't know. Maybe it's just part of the way that my psychology is.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand your intentionality, so we're not wasting time.
Well, look, there are things I became a scientist because I wanted to figure out what's objectively true. So, at least there is some piece of evidence that accounts for the fact that I am interested in what's actually true about the world. So, now that we've established that, I would love for you to explain to me why I have reason to think that a God existing is objectively true.
Yeah, there's many arguments you can make. I don't know what presuppositions you hold in terms of ascertaining what truth is. But if we agree on certain fundamentals,
go ahead.
So you accept the coherence, correspondence, and pragmatic theory of truth?
No, not necessarily. In different settings, I use different modes of coming to truth, right? Like in social settings, I might just come to truth by evaluating the things that people say, right, and comparing them against the way that I understand the world to be. For mathematical truths, I come to truth by deriving proofs from axioms. For physical truths, I look towards observation and, explanation, if you will. So there are different kinds of truths that truth about God. I think that it depends on what kind of God. Sorry, it depends on what kind of God it is you believe in.
So I'm a Muslim. I believe in the Islamic definition of God.
So for the Islamic definition of God, I suppose in principle you could offer historical evidence, you could offer physical evidence because the God that you believe in has at least interacted with the world in one way or another. You could offer philosophical evidence that would, because this is a being that in principle would exist metaphysically, and so it should be able to be, if it does exist, you might be able to access it metaphysically using, reason alone. So you could offer evidence in a plethora of ways if such evidence exists.
So when you say physical evidence, so if God revealed a message, how would you capture that?
I would say that that's probably closer to historical evidence rather than physical evidence. When I say physical evidence, I mean like the kind of thing that you can do like empirics on.
Okay,
like that you can run experiments, that kind of thing. Like facts about the world that you can derive via observation and perhaps by experimentation. If we're talking about like a text left behind, that would probably fall into the historical evidence category.
Okay. So can book be that evidence? Can a book, a revelation that's captured in a book?
In principle, sure. Things written down by ancient people can stand in evidentiary relationships with claims. The question is how good is the evidence? How convincing is it?
Okay. So we agree on fundamentals on what makes good evidence, right? I mean, we believe in logic. We believe in valid testimony. We believe in what else? Empiricism. So these three are the reasons, are the evidences that I would give for why I believe it's more probable that Allah exists rather than not.
Okay, how do you come to that conclusion? What's the specific evidence that we're examining here?
Yeah, so if you pile up, it's a preponderance of evidence, right? So if you pile up all the contingency arguments, causality arguments, that gives you a necessary being. And when you compare that to actual revelation and who God is, it kind of matches what your initial presuppositions were.
So as far as the contingency argument and the cosmological arguments, I find these to be kind of shit. And so like taking all of the contingency type arguments, all of the cosmological type arguments, just seems like it makes a bigger pile of shit. So like I don't know.
Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
If you take a little shit and then a little more shit and then a little more shit, you just end up with a big pile of shit. Right? Like
so
if the arguments are trash themselves, then putting a bunch of them together doesn't make the arguments better.
Yeah, if you have to substantiate your claim that you don't agree with it. I mean, why do you agree? Why do you say that it's a bad argument?
I mean, which one? Like we can talk about whichever argument you want.
The argument from contingency that leads to a necessary being.
The argument from contingency seems like it gets you to either the acceptance of brute facts or the acceptance that everything is necessary. In which case, if you're okay with brute facts, then it could just be a brute fact that the universe exists. If you're okay with if you're okay with everything being necessary, then there's nothing to explain. There's no contingency things. There's no contingent things at all. If everything's necessary.
How can you include the laws of physics that are contingent into that?
That's an enormous claim. I don't know how you would prove that the laws of physics are contingent.
The laws of physics, are they based on constants? Nuclear force.
Whether they're based on constants or whether they include the constants, perhaps it's a semantic disagreement, but sure. How does that therefore mean that they're contingent?
They could have been otherwise.
How do you know?
Because they could have been otherwise. They didn't have to be exactly
how do you
that
know?
number.
Oh, just repeat the same claim? How do you know?
How do I know that it could be a different number?
Yeah.
Logically. There's no necessary.
We're not talking about the logical modal scope here. Under the logical modal scope, you don't need a necessary being. Under the logical modal scope, brute facts can exist. So the logical modal scope doesn't get you anywhere. If you're talking about the constants, which is a fine-tuning argument, so I guess we're doing that for the third time today. If you're talking about the fine-tuning argument, then we're talking about like some sort of super-physical modal scope. Not quite metaphysical, not quite physical. Something between physical and metaphysical.
Can you what do you mean by super-physical?
Yeah, so I did just define it. What I mean is the modal scope that is somewhere between the physical modal scope and the metaphysical modal scope. And the reason I say it's not quite the physical modal scope, it's a little bit kind of above it, is because we generally take the physical modal scope to be the kinds of things that are possible or impossible or necessary given the laws of physics as we observe them today. But we're questioning what the nature of those laws of physics are within the realm of like kind of some sort of like broader space of physical possibility. So that's why I would call it super physical, something like that.
So do you agree that the ultimate reality is one?
I don't even know what that means.
So the ultimate explanation for reality,
yeah,
cannot be caused, cannot be dependent, right? Cannot be
the
physical.
ultimate. So when you say explanation, do you mean like some fact of reality that explains why reality is a certain way?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the kind of, I don't think that reality is the kind of thing that needs an explanation in that way.
So you're abandoning rational logic then, the rational inquiry?
No, I can justify why I think that's the case. So if we take a fact of reality to be a part of reality, then either it's the case that a thing can explain itself, or a subset of a thing can explain the whole thing, which that seems fraught with issues, or the thing doesn't need explanation. So I'm just taking the side of, oh, well, it seems more reasonable that that reality itself is not the kind of thing that can have an explanation, rather than saying there's a fact of reality that explains all of reality. That would be very, very strange, if a subset of a thing can explain the whole thing.
So you do agree that the ultimate explanation must exist independently rather than dependently?
No, did you miss that whole part of the conversation?
No, I mean, so yeah, we disagree on like some fundamental truths about what explanation is, what
do you have an objection?
is.
Do you have an objection to the line of thinking I just presented?
Yeah, it's irrational.
Which part? I mean, like I can just formalize this for you on the spot if you want. You want me to formalize it for you? We can just talk about it.
Yeah, so I mean,
I've never formalized this before, so we might take some time. But we can just, I can just give you the argument if you want, and then we can talk about it.
We can either say that existence has no explanation, or existence has an explanation. Do you agree with that dichotomy? Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Hold on. So I just want to formalize the point that I made, because it seems like you kind of just neglected to pay attention to it. So premise one. An explanation, and this is just sort of a definition, is a fact of reality that accounts for some feature of reality, perhaps, or for something about reality. Premise two, a fact of reality is something about reality. Premise three, a feature of a thing, well, I should say, yeah, we can say a feature, that's fine. A feature of a thing cannot explain the whole thing. Conclusion, there is no explanation for reality itself. And we can just check validity here. I was kind of just sketching it out. So we say that, so we would want to say, like, if an explanation is a fact of reality that accounts for something about reality, then, well, so if an explanation is a fact of reality that accounts for something about reality, actually, we can just define this. That's fine. So an explanation is a fact of reality that accounts for something about reality. Now, and then we say a fact of reality is something about reality, so then we can derive a conclusion here that an explanation is a fact of, an explanation is something about reality. That derives from P1 and P2. we can say that a thing about reality, meaning like a property or a feature, etc., cannot explain the whole of reality. So therefore it would follow that there exists, because an explanation is something about reality, there exists no explanation that explains the whole of reality. Do you have a particular problem with this formalization? It's probably still a little rough, and we could expand it out more if you wanted to. But do you have a problem with this kind of argument?
Let me see. So, premise one, explanation is a fact. I mean, I think you're committing an equivocation on reality. The argument uses reality in two different senses, in P1 and P2.
Mm-hmm.
So in P1, reality, all that exists, right?
P1 is just a definition, by the way.
Yeah. So, but in P3, reality, according to you, is a contingent universe requiring explanation. So you're
sorry, is a contingent universe? Is it contingent what?
Contingent universe requiring explanation.
Contingent universal. I don't know what that next word is. Quine.
Universe requiring
contingent universe requiring explanation.
Yeah.
Sorry, how is P3 saying that? All I'm saying is that a part cannot explain the whole. That's what P3 is really getting at.
Yeah, well, like, so from our point of view, contingent reality, the classical theism distinguishes between contingent reality and necessary reality, right? So contingent reality is the universe, necessary reality is God. The theist is not claiming that a part of contingent reality explains contingent reality. The theist is claiming that...
Well, to be clear, would you take the union of a contingent thing and a necessary thing to itself be contingent?
A union of a contingent and necessary thing, like, well,
to be contingent.
It's two dichotomies. Like, what do you mean union?
The joining of those two things. Say that A is contingent and B is necessary. Would you say that A and B is contingent?
I mean, those are two opposites. What do you mean like, how are you using the word joining?
And I just used the word and. Let's say A is some necessary proposition and B is some contingent proposition. Then the proposition A and B, is that contingent or necessary?
I don't know.
Okay, the answer is that it's contingent. Because the joint proposition could have been another way if the contingent proposition was different, which means, you know, that there is a possible world in which the joint proposition is different, so the proposition itself is not, its truth is not necessary. So if you think that there is a contingent reality or contingent universe and a necessary, say, divine being, a god, then the joint sum total of all of reality is itself contingent.
All of reality?
Yeah, including God. The God plus universe reality is in fact, this is something like P1. If P1, the universe is contingent, and we can just move over to this argument because this argument is
but did you agree that you committed a fallacy there?
No, in fact,
with the word reality.
No, I wasn't equivocating on a contingent or necessary at all. It wasn't invoked in my proof at all, or my argument rather.
Also, your P1, by the way, is falsely assuming that an explanation is a fact of reality. I mean, we could just say God.
This is just a definition of what explanation is.
So the P1 does not exclude God at all, then, right?
Yeah.
God, I could say just that God is a fact of reality.
And then the point is that a fact of reality cannot explain the totality of reality. Reality is not the kind of thing that can be explained. But in fact, actually, this secondary argument is actually perhaps even better given what you've just granted. So P1, the universe is contingent. P2, God is necessary. P3 P3, if A is contingent and B is necessary, then the we can use the word the union, or we could use the conjunction, whatever it is. I'll use the word union. Then the union of A and B is contingent. Conclusion: the universe and God, this is a union, is makes up a contingent, or is contingent. P4, the universe and God is the sum total of all reality. Conclusion 2, this is actually a decent argument, I'll have to use this in the future. The universe and God is contingent. Which premise do you reject?
Okay, let me try to hash this out. So we agree with the first two. It was contingent, God is necessary. I think P3 is what I have an issue with. If so, the premise, if A is contingent and B is necessary, then A plus B is contingent, is not generally true, I would say. So,
oh, I'm sorry, hold on.
So if I would say,
hold on, there's just a typo here. The sum total of all reality is contingent. That's what the second conclusion is supposed to be. But look, if you're rejecting P3, then it seems like that. So to be clear, are we using like possible world semantics here for contingent and necessity? Because P3 just follows from possible world semantics.
I'll just try to explain with an example, maybe. Like, so set A is a contingent things like table, you know, stones or cars, whatever. And set B is the number 2, assuming for the sake of this argument that mathematical objects are necessary.
Sure.
Then A, so then
the union,
A and
so
B,
tables
or A
and
plus
chairs and 2.
Yeah,
that
so
set
the
itself
union
is contingent because the tables and chairs could be different, right? Which means that the set could be different.
So A union B contains a necessary member. So
but the whole set itself is contingent.
Yeah, but
because
the existence of
the
members
could be different.
Yeah, but it does not make the necessary member contingent, though. The contingent.
I never said it did. I never said it did.
Okay.
I'm talking about.
I mean,
maybe I'll put parentheses here. Maybe
there's some sort of like fallacy of composition also going on, I think, in that premise. So if you,
I don't think that follows. Where's the fallacy of composition?
The properties of parts do not necessarily transfer to the whole, right? Do you agree with that?
So
and the properties of the whole do not necessarily.
In general, that's true. But if we're using possible world semantics here to describe contingency and necessity, then if we talk about a set as being different if its elements are different, then it means that there is a possible world in which the contingent elements are different. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't exist, whatever. In which case, there's a possible world in which the set is different. Which means that the set is not necessary. It's contingent.
Yeah, I mean, so my only question would be like, why should adding a contingent object to a necessary object remove necessity from the necessary object? Like,
I never said that it removes necessity from the necessary object.
So
that's
how
not
are
part
you?
Of this, that's not part of this argument.
But how does that? I mean, you're using that in your conclusions, right?
It's literally not used in the conclusion anywhere. The conclusion is that the sum total of all reality is contingent. And that just follows, like if you grant the premises, then that follows deductively. The first conclusion follows. The first conclusion follows from substitution. The second conclusion follows again from substitution. So this isn't even a complicated syllogism. It's just fairly straightforward. Now, P3 is the place where you might have contention, but I don't see how you, like, unless you're not using possible world semantics and you're using some other notion of necessary and contingent here, I have no idea how you're going to say that you can have, like imagine this. Imagine that you had a necessary box, or, imagine that you have a box, right? And ignore, like, what's in the box. You put, the box contains, you know, a lava lamp, and it contains, I don't know, the number 2. Well, there's a possible world where the lava lamp is blue. There's a possible world where the lava lamp is red. And so there's a possible world where the box containing all of this stuff is different, right? Because it could be containing a blue thing or it could be containing a red thing, and that would change all of the stuff. And so then the box containing the stuff is different.
Okay. So is your position that universe could just be a brute fact? Is that your?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It'd be a little bit frustrating, but you know, I think I'd rather be a necessitarian.
Yeah, but I would say that's not an explanation. I would say just as
yes, a brute fact by definition is. My point is that like if you're seeking some sort of explanation for the contingency, then it just is the case that either the universe is entirely necessary. So you can escape this, by the way. You can escape the conclusion that the sum total of all reality is contingent by rejecting the first premise. If we say instead the universe is necessary, then it follows that the sum total of all reality is necessary. If the universe is contingent, then it follows that the sum total of all reality is contingent. Because the universe is part of the sum total of all reality.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the contingency argument is pretty airtight. I think it still wins because
what's the issue with which premise do you reject?
So, okay, my position is that the contingency argument does not claim that brute facts or things like infinite regress are logically impossible. What I'm saying is it claims that the explanatorily.
Sorry, you're cutting out one more time.
Sorry, got a phone call.
You're good. Go ahead.
So I'm claiming that the explanatory power is weaker than a necessary reality.
So I would agree, because brute facts by definition don't have explanation. But then it just seems like that like if you want to say that we're going to reject brute facts, fine. Then in order to get that that there are no brute facts, you have to demand that the universe is necessary.
I mean, the onus is on you that, you know, if you say the universe itself is necessary.
Well, no. I mean,
why the universe could not have.
Look. We'll do
failed to
one.
exist.
We'll do another one.
You have to demonstrate why the universe could not have failed to exist.
I'm going to.
With different laws, different constants, or no universe at all.
I'm going to chill. Okay. So, if the universe could have failed to exist, then, and we're going to work with your worldview here, then God could have failed to create the universe. Premise 2, God's will is necessary, according to you. Conclusion, God could not have failed to create the universe. That's from that's just a direct implication. It's just identical to P2. And so if P3, if God could not have failed to create, actually if we want to do this properly, if God's will is necessary, then God could not have failed to create the universe. If God could not have failed to create the universe, then the universe could not have failed to exist. Conclusion, if God's will is necessary, the universe could not have failed to exist. P4, either the universe could have failed to exist, or it could not have failed to exist. Conclusion 3, if God's will is necessary, the universe could not. Oh, actually, I guess that's already C2. So we were actually already done at C2. So we actually don't even need P1. We could clean this up a little bit, but this is, suffice it to say, if God's will is necessary. Oh yeah, okay. So the correct way to do this is remove P1, make this P2, make this P2, and yeah, now we're done. This is just a hypothetical syllogism, and then we get C2. The universe could not have failed to exist. That's from P1 plus C1. And this is from P2 plus P3. So which premise do you reject?
So classical theism, or at least Islamic theism, would argue that Allah's attribute of will is necessary and eternal, right? So
okay, so you accept
your
P1.
conclusion, yeah. So if God's will is necessary, then God could not have failed to create the universe. I think the argument fails when you assume
which premise are you rejecting?
Well, there's an hidden assumption. I think there's an assumption where necessary will entails necessary object of will.
Okay, so you're rejecting. So you're rejecting P2.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
So
so we can give a defense of P2. We'll give it right away. So if God's will is necessary, then the things he wills could not be different. And we can argue about that too. I can give a defense of that later. If God's will is necessary, and he indeed willed to create the universe, actually, we can just make it this way. God willed to create the universe. P2 conclusion. If God's will is necessary, then God could not have failed to will the universe. And then we could say P2-3, if God could not have failed to will the universe, then God could not have failed, or could not have failed to create the universe. And then P2 conclusion 2, if God's will is necessary, then God could not have failed to create the universe. And that's exactly what P2 is. So, objections to any of these premises?
I think it's still better. I think I would say P2-1. I think you're confusing necessity of God's act of willing with the necessity of the thing willed.
Well, sorry, I'm not talking about like the object of his will. I'm talking about like the wills. So like, you know, I have different wills. I have a will to keep breathing, a will to keep doing these debates, and so like those are the things that I will. Now, my will to keep breathing is not the same as breathing, but it's my will to keep breathing. That's what I'm referring to in P2-1.
So
the things that make up his will couldn't be different. Meaning that if God's will is necessary, it couldn't be that like the different objects of his will could have been different from what it could have been different, right?
Yeah. So if God's will is necessary, then the things he wills could not be different.
Yeah.
Is it? So that's false.
Okay. Maybe it's just a little bit confusing, so I can change the wording if that helps. Then his will could not be different, i.e. the things that he could not will for different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because earlier I think to say that, for instance, God necessarily knows that I drank coffee this morning, for instance, right? Therefore, it was metaphysically necessary that I drank coffee. That conclusion, I don't think it follows.
Wait a minute. So do you reject P2-1 now? Could God's will be different if his will is necessary? When you're off the app, I can't hear
you. Sorry, I gotta take this phone call, but I hate to do this, but
take a screenshot.
Yeah. All right.
This is called modal collapse, by the way.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks.
Later. Yeah. I think that we quote had him in a chokehold, and then he got out because he had a phone call to take. But that's okay. Can I put that back up? Sure. Yeah, here it is. For those who want to screenshot it. All right, I'm going to move on to the next guest. But I'm going to make sure to look at some super chats really quick. From Brian Astrobeal with the $2. What a chokehold of an argument. Indeed, what a chokehold. You know, like minds and all that. From Harper with the $2. Hey Blitz, love the show. I'm Pasha in Discord. Well, hello Harper. Hello Pasha. Let us, I just want to double check, make sure I didn't miss anything, Cash App wise or anything like that. Doesn't look like I did. Oh, we did get a new member on Patreon. Thank you, Howard. Thank you so much for becoming a member on Patreon. Remember, if you become a member on Patreon, you now have access to my debate notes, and that argument will be going in the debate notes, by the way. You will have access to the secret Discord channel if you join the Discord server, and you will also have. Actually, I don't have a way to do this currently. Those are the perks that you get for being a member on Patreon. Do you reject the BGV theorem as originally written? Yes. All right, let us bring up our next guest. Let's bring up G1.
Oh, okay.
G1, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. G1, do you believe in God?
I do believe in God, but I wanted to speak about what the last guest was speaking about, like the model class which you provided.
Sure.
Because that was kind of intriguing.
Sure, what about it?
Can you pull up again so I can take a look?
Yeah. Oh, where'd it go?
Okay, so P1, okay, that someone parachute is it. Damn. Coincidentally, scientists popped up. So God's will was necessary. If God's will was necessary, then God could not have brought to the universe. If God's will was necessary, then his will could not be.
This is just the defense of P2. So if you accept, if you're happy with P2, then you don't have to read it.
Okay. So it's just like, okay. So if God's will was necessary, then God could not have failed to create the universe. So okay, so what do you mean? So what do you mean in the first antecedent in premise 2? When you're saying God's will was necessary, then he could not have failed to create the universe.
That every feature of God's will could not be different.
So every feature of God's will cannot.
That there's no possible world in which God's will has, that he wills for different things, or that he has a different number of wills, or whatever it might be.
Your premise 2 would be false.
Why is premise 2 false?
Because you said that so when you're saying it's necessary, we're talking about every feature concerning God's will.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at the will itself, it's relational, right? So the will has a relation to the thing willed. So that relation itself can differ, but the thing in relation to God cannot differ itself, because there is going to be some inclination towards God.
Look,
right,
so if your claim, so it just sounds like you're rejecting P1.
No, I can say God's will is necessary, but that doesn't mean that I'm saying that every aspect of features.
If your claim that the will, so look, when I say that God's will is necessary, what I mean, like when I'm talking about a thing like a will, right? What I mean is like, what we can talk about is we can talk about like the sum total of properties or features or aspects of that thing, and we would say that thing is. We would then say that the thing is necessary if all of those features are necessary. We would say that it's contingent if at least one of those features are contingent, because if one of those features could be contingent, then that means if it's a feature of the will, then that means that the will could be different.
Yeah, you're not giving me the definition of will here. You're just saying that when we have, like, for example, notes or concepts of something, then it's necessary for that thing in order for it to be some essential aspect of nature, which is being considered. But that definition itself can extend to other things as well, like humans, right? Like humans have like essential properties and all of this type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which
so for example, if your parents weren't human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is going to get messy with evolution, but for the sake of argument, let's say that a necessary feature of being a human is having human parents. Suppose.
Okay.
Which once you get into like kind of the gray area of what a human is, it's a little bit messy. But suppose that that's the case. Well, then it's just true that if you change, if it were say possible that you had non-human parents, then it's possible that you're not human. So that would mean that your humanity is contingent.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. But the will isn't like a property, it's like a faculty, right? So
well, the will is a thing with properties, right? There are like the will is a thing with properties, unless you take the will to not be a thing itself.
A will is a thing with properties. I wouldn't say a will is a thing with a property, because that would imply that the will is like a subject, right? But the will is going to be something which relates to a subject. But how would you define will?
Perhaps a set of goals, a set of desires.
A set of goals and desires, right? So
something like that.
When we say like, okay, cool. So when you're saying it's a set of goals and desires, are you saying that this is something which a subject tends towards, like, to gain?
Well, yeah, kind of by definition, that's what desires are.
Yeah, we don't. That isn't going to be the aspect of will.
Okay, so then how are you defining will?
So will is just going to be an inclination towards a good, right? Which is
okay. So a desire is just a desire is a specific kind of inclination. A desire is an inclination towards rather than an inclination against.
Yeah, but
so you could say that it's a desire that well. So you're saying that a will is an inclination towards the good?
Yeah. So it's going to be an inclination towards will. No, it is, because when you desire things which are good, right? And if someone desires something which is bad, right, then the person which, like when you say like someone's desiring something which is bad, that's going to be relative to the person which is rejecting.
How are you cashing out good and bad here?
So good. When we're talking about good here, we're talking about like some ontological goodness, right? Something which has being. Right, because good and being is perfectible. So when people desire good,
so to be clear, then you can desire. So good is not a relational aspect, then, right?
No, good in a virtue of itself isn't a relational aspect.
Right.
Good
so then absolutely, a person could desire something or have an inclination towards something bad. If it's not relational, they're just things either are good or are bad, and the desire toward it is, it's agnostic of that. People could be mistaken, for example.
Yeah, when we can understand that it's going to be bad in relation to the circumstance of what's being inclined. It's not an equivocation, because when we see
good and bad is an ontological status, it's not a relational thing.
I already told you that the term good here is going to be ontological. So when we're talking about like good, we're not talking about some moral goodness itself, right? Because when we're saying that the will inclines towards something which is good, right? It doesn't have to be something
goodness
moral.
itself has existence, is what you're saying? Like the good is like a property with existence?
No, I'm not saying good is existence. I'm saying good is going to be...
I'm not saying it is existence. I'm saying it has existence. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then what do you mean by it's ontological then?
I'm saying it's an aspect of being, right, in general. All right, so it's going to be a property. It's going to be a property of being.
Okay, yeah, sure. I would agree that goodness is a property of being. Now, is goodness... So the goodness that you're referring to when you say that a will is directed towards, it's an inclination towards a good thing, how are you cashing out good there? So it's not enough to just say that it's an aspect of being, because there are a lot of aspects of being, and then it's not really explanatory what you're referring to when you say good.
Yeah, so good, right, is going to signify... So we can give a definition of good here, right? So good is going to be signifying like things which is proper to a thing, right?
Things
given
which are
that the
proper
nature
to a thing.
Yeah. Given like the nature like consists of like essential properties or like perfections and whatnot. So good is signifying perfection, which we're saying that a thing has, right? So that relates to its being.
So when people have a will towards imperfection, then that seems like a counterexample to your statement that wills are towards the good.
Because when we see, you can't, in imperfection, when you see they have a will to an imperfection, right, that's going to be an aspect of the thing itself. Like, for example, when you incline towards, let's say...
What does that mean?
It means imperfection is something which we understand in relation to the thing itself. Imperfection doesn't exist by itself. Like, for example, blindness, right?
No, I'm saying that they are willing towards some particular imperfection of a particular thing.
Yeah,
or
but when we say
desire some sort of imperfection for something.
Yeah, but when when we say they incline towards it, right, and it's imperfect, we're considering the circumstances of what the thing is, right? There's a standard. When we see something is imperfect, it means that it's bad, right? Or it's not good, or it's not proper.
I mean, like, unless you're just not giving me any sort of informative definition, you can't say that it's bad.
I already told you, good. Look, I already told you, when we say like it's bad, right? Bad here is just signifying like it's improper to the nature of the thing, right? Given the substance of the thing itself. Like, for example,
when we incline... So it seems like that there's like a lot of like normative stuff happening here.
No, it's not, bro. No, it's not normativity because we're talking
So
about
then,
something.
the word proper is a normative, is like a normative word.
It can be used as a normative word.
How are you using it then?
So I'm using it metaphysically, ontologically speaking.
That doesn't clarify anything. What does it mean for something to be proper if it's not used in a normative sense?
What does it mean for something to be proper?
Can you use the word normative in a way? Can you use the word proper in a way where it's not referring to some sort of normative claim?
Some normative claim?
Yeah.
I would say proper is going to be primitive. I don't have a precise definition.
No. Look, I have an understanding of what the word proper means, and it's almost like I can't think of any cases where it's used in a sense that's not normative, or it's used in a sense that's not equivocating anyway. So do you have a sense in which? Can you give me an example of like a thing being proper?
Yeah. So it's going to be. We can take it like a descriptive sense. Yeah, like for example, descriptions, right? So when we have a description, right, and we say that this thing is the description and it has like these nodes or predicates in relation to it, that's what I mean by proper, right? So given that there's going to be a description of something,
so
right,
there's going to be proper, you just mean, say, a feature of a thing is, or an attribute or a feature or a predicate is proper if it is, say, correctly or, describing the thing itself. So you would say that, like, if I say the fire truck, if I point to a fire truck that's red and I say that fire truck is red, you would say that that's proper. And if I say that the fire truck is blue, you would say that that's improper.
Depending on the description which is being involved, right? So when we have a description of something and we say, oh yeah, that's proper, like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, so given the description itself, right, you're saying that it's proper for it to be like this, given that the feature is something which is contained in the description itself. Right. And my point is
that something that's contained within. How is a feature contained in the description of the feature?
Because the feature is going to be the predicate and the subject by which you're saying that it's going to be.
Yeah. So how is a predicate going to be contained within the same predicate?
No, I said a description contains a subject and a predicate. So when I'm saying there's going to be a feature which is contained in the description, I'm speaking about the predicate which is.
Okay, so you're saying that the predicate is found in the description. Sure.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, so by proper, you just mean like it corresponds to the actual way a thing is.
Yeah.
Okay, so then.
Right. So that's why we're not using normativity.
So let's wind back. Okay, no, that's fine. If that's what you mean by it, it's not what I would mean by it, but sure, that's fine. We can use that. So if that's what you mean by proper, now define good again, if you can, using that notion of proper.
So. Yeah, so
or actually, in order to get to good, we had to go through perfection. So define perfection again using that definition of proper.
Define perfection. I don't think perfection is going to be primitive. It can't be defined. It's not going to be further defined.
Well, the way that we got to proper is that you said that like perfection is, or rather, you gave me a definition of imperfection, perhaps.
No. Right? I gave you a definition of good. Right? I said that good is going to signify a perfection which a being has, right?
Yeah. And I asked you to explain what you meant by perfection here.
So perfection is going to correspond to the nature of something, right?
So,
it's
let's write this down.
It's being. That's what it means.
We're just going to write this down because I think that's probably what we need. So good is, one more time.
So good, right, is going to signify the perfection which a being has.
Okay. And then perfection is
going to be an aspect or feature of a thing, given its nature. Given its nature.
Good equals an aspect or feature of a thing which a being has.
But yeah, it's gonna. So when we say it's good,
that tells us nothing.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Doesn't tell us anything?
Everything about a thing is an aspect or feature of the thing.
Everything about a thing, no, because there's still a distinction there, right? We're saying that there's going to be an effect. I don't know why you're getting confused, right? The same way that we can speak about existence, right? Even though it can't be defined, we still give examples about what existence is. So it's the same thing here. When we're saying that something is good, right, we're analyzing some perfection or aspect, right, of the nature, right, which has being in itself, right, but that aspect can differ according to its nature.
So is this? Do you take that this is a false statement, or do you take this to be an accurate description of the way that you understand good?
It's a correct description
of the way that you understand it, surely. I mean, like, we might have different understandings, but sure, this is...
It's a definition.
Okay, so this is what... So you would say that, like, a fire truck, the redness of a fire truck is good?
The redness of a fire truck is good because it has being, yes.
Okay. And the I don't know, the
yes,
cancer, the cancer growing within an organism is good?
We would say it's not good in the normative sense, but it's going to be good in the
but it's good in this
of,
sense.
Yeah, it's good in this sense, right? But we can still make a distinction. When we're saying so when we say
it just seems like it just seems like by good you just mean that like it is any feature or like I mean like, and you just agreed to it that good is just any feature or aspect of a thing which a being has. So like it's just direct, like when a will is just an inclination towards the good, you're just saying an inclination towards an aspect or feature of a thing which a being has.
No, that isn't. No, that's not.
Okay, so then how did you define will?
So I already gave the definition of will, and we're going
I know. I just want to write it down. So a will is...
I told you it's going to be an inclination towards good, and I already told you about
so
what we're speaking about,
like this, right? So then
yeah,
will
I already agree with
is
so can I please, like,
inclination towards an aspect or feature of a thing which a being has. Now, here's a problem. How can you therefore will the creation of something?
How can you therefore will the creation of something?
Yeah, given this definition of good, and given this definition of will, because
it's not sufficient in itself. Right? It doesn't encompass explicitly, right, what it implies power, right, in some respect, but it doesn't give. You just asked me the question: how is it the case that we can create something given this definition itself?
Yeah.
Right. Right. I already told you the definition itself doesn't include what's called active power, but it implies active power in itself.
Well, no, I mean, look, so and maybe I can just clarify because it sounded like the answer that you gave me wasn't addressing what I was asking, and it could be my fault that I wasn't communicating clearly. So this definition seems to indicate that you are willing, that willing has to be about a thing which has being, right?
Yeah, that's one aspect, right?
Can will
right,
be about something that doesn't have being?
Will can be about something which doesn't have being.
Then your definition doesn't work.
No, it doesn't, because will, look, you need to understand that will, right, you're talking about the exercising of the act of will itself, right? So prior to
I'm just talking
the
about
exercising of the act,
I'm not talking about exercising the act, I'm just talking about the will itself.
What you asked me the question about earlier, about how does this, like, what's it called, conclude to, like, the world being created or any like effect.
How can one will anything to be created? How can one have that will when the thing that the will is supposed to be about doesn't have being? Whereas this definition of will requires that the thing that's being willed has, that the thing that the inclination is about has being.
No, that's not. Wait, that's not what that's what the definition is saying. Wait, what do you think? Wait, what do you think I mean by inclination?
Perhaps it's a primitive, a drive towards something, a predisposition to that thing. I can give you synonyms, but I kind of understood. I kind of assumed that you and I understood the word to mean the same kind of idea. We had the same sort of
the difference.
Fundamental understanding of the word. But if you have a specific, like you know.
No. Look. For example.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Remember earlier when you said like will is just going to be like some desires or goals.
Yeah,
in which the individual like orients. Yeah, so there's like an orientation towards that, such that they orient towards it because it's some like thing which the person wants, right, for themselves, right?
Well, or it doesn't have to be for themselves, perhaps, but it's just
it could be for someone else.
Or the point is, the person desires.
Yeah, so it's either for themselves or for others, right?
Or it's for no reason. I mean, like, you know.
Okay.
Like
so
the definition that I gave you didn't include why the will exists.
Yeah, but no one's talking about. Yeah, he was just describing what a will is, but I'm saying that your understanding of the will would fall under this definition. So, because remember, the will has many aspects, right? Because a will is going to be a relation between the thing willed. So we're speaking about that orientation here, because when we're saying there's a will, right? What does it mean for something to? What does will mean? Right, like you defined, it's going to be the desire.
The definition of will that I offered wouldn't fall on this.
So it wouldn't.
The definition that you offer can only be about things that have being.
And when you have desires about things, do they not exist in some respect?
No.
Can you desire something which doesn't exist at all? In any respect?
Sure, you can.
So if it has no like logical
but your definition wouldn't be compatible with things that don't have being.
Wait, hold on. Let me. So you can desire things which don't have real being insofar as they exist in reality apart from the mind.
I take it that existing in reality is equivalent to having being.
No, being is twofold. It doesn't just indicate what's it called in the real world, right? Apart from the mind itself, you can speak about being in the mind, right? So you're saying that you desire things.
I take the mind to be in the real world, so I don't have an issue there.
Yeah, that's fine. Just because you take it to be in the real world doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a distinction between abstract objects and concrete objects, right?
I don't think that abstract objects exist.
So even if you don't think
that there are objects that exist in the real world, no.
Okay, so you're saying that being is just going to be something which, were you a materialist about being or something?
I just don't think that there are abstract things. I don't think that it necessarily follows that I'm a materialist.
No, I'm asking the question. I never said it necessarily follows you're a materialist.
No, I don't usually use the materialist label because I think it has some connotations that are incorrect about my view.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. So my point is I don't really need to endeavor in your belief. The point is that I'm giving my definition itself. And when we have desires, right, desires is going to imply something which we know, right? Can you desire something which you don't know in no respect?
Probably not.
Okay, so that's my point, right? So the knowing has being, right? The thing which you know has being.
The knowing has being?
Yeah. So
that's tricky. In your view, does it have being? No, I mean, like this is you're using your worldview here, so like I'm happy to just use whatever you use.
Even using your worldview as well, because you said
I don't take knowing to be an object or a thing with being. I take it to be like a process.
Yeah, it's a process, and that process does exist. Yeah, but the process does exist.
I don't think it's correct to say that like a process exists. So I think a process is a kind of thing that happens. But I don't think that it makes sense to say that it's a thing that exists.
Okay, so if it doesn't exist, then it isn't anything.
No, it's just not an object in reality.
It's either something or it's nothing. So which is it?
It's something, but there are some things that don't exist that are not objects in reality.
But some things which don't exist. But then how can So you're saying there's some things
doesn't exist, but Spider-Man is still something.
Wait. So you're saying there's some things. Wait. So you're saying some things do exist, but then what is something if it's not nothing? Because nothing is going to be non-existent.
Look, there are some things that don't exist. That doesn't mean that it doesn't follow that just because something doesn't exist that it's nothing.
Oh, that's my whole point. What the heck? So if there's some things which don't exist and there's still and we can still say it's something.
Maybe we're just talking past each other on what we mean by exist. What I mean by exist is just
I know what you mean by exist.
It's just an object in reality.
Yeah, I know. That's the whole point,
so
right?
So like for example, I would say that a concept is not an object in reality, so it doesn't exist, but it's still something.
Because you believe your existence is going to be, restricted to concrete things, right?
Yeah, sure. Like
exactly.
I would say that a process is not an object, so it doesn't exist. It's not an object in reality, so it's just a something that doesn't exist.
Okay, that's the point, right? Because that's the point is right. Your definition is too restrictive, right? Because look, you're saying existence is going to be restricted to concrete things, right? But then if existence is restricted to concrete things, right? It's not really like it's not really like proper to say that there's something, but that something doesn't have existence, right?
Why
because
not?
Because when we just naturally speaking, right? When we're speaking about like things like processes and all of these type of stuff, right? They do have existence, even if you don't say that it doesn't exist in a concrete sense. It has some kind of being, and what I mean by that is that it's going to be the opposite.
You're just saying your definition doesn't. Your definition is wrong. Like no, it's totally coherent.
Because my definition, I never said it's not going to be incoherent. I never said it's not going to be incoherent. My point is that it's not practical. Like it's not pragmatic. That's the critique that I'm offering. One.
Okay, your definition of good is not practical. It's not pragmatic. But I'm not hitting you on the pragmatism of your definitions.
Wait, hold on. But my point is that the reason why my definition is going to be more preferable is because it explains those things, right, which we see something, but doesn't exist in your kind of sense, right? So it's more favorable for someone to believe that being is going to be that which is not nothing, meaning that if it is something, then its existence is either concrete or abstract. So even if we take your view of existence,
Spider-Man exists in your view?
So does Spider-Man exist in my view?
Yeah.
Right. It has. Well, he has logical being, yeah. But the logical being is
okay. So Spider-Man exists. Does Vishnu exist?
Does what? Does what exist?
Vishnu.
As an object of thought, yeah.
Okay. So Vishnu exists in your world. So you
That's in my. And what do you think my world is?
the whatever your worldview is. You're Muslim, yeah.
I'm not. No, that doesn't follow. Just wait.
I thought that you said that you were, but it may have been a previous person.
No, I'm Christian.
Okay, you're Christian. So in your worldview, in your Christian worldview, Vishnu exists.
In my, and what do you mean by worldview?
Whatever. What do you mean? What do I mean by worldview? You know what the word worldview
when you
means.
Say, I know what
it's the sum total of all of your positions about various propositions. And
Vishnu does not exist in my worldview, because if we're speaking about the sum total
of
like
Vishnu does not exist.
Wait, hold on, let me know, because now you're equivocating, right? Because when you said world here, right,
okay,
you're talking
so
about
to be clear, when I said worldview, I mean like in your understanding of what the words mean.
Hold up. You already gave your understanding of worlds, right? Which is including some like attitude which the individual has, which they believe in, right? So when I'm saying that what's called Vishnu or Spider-Man is going to be like an object of thought, right? I'm not saying that the attitude which I have towards it is going to be something which I believe in. No, you're just conflating.
Wait, so you don't believe in things that are real?
I don't believe in things which are real, right? And what do you mean by believe here?
I don't know. You use the word.
Well, you're using me to take
I'm just using whatever word you used, whatever meaning you used. I'm using that.
So believe. So I don't believe things if believe is taking the thing to be true, right? And I don't believe it to be true.
I mean, you can say it's an attitude. And I don't
believe. Yeah, I'm telling you. So belief, right, is going to be an attitude which the individual has to something.
Yeah, it's like a proposition.
So it isn't going to be the case that I take Vishnu to be true, because Vishnu is not an individual.
Hold on, sorry. The Vishnu is not a proposition. You might have, if you're willing to grant that, say, exists as a predicate or something like that, then the proposition would be something like you have a negative attitude towards the proposition Vishnu exists, right? Meaning that you think the proposition Vishnu exists is false.
Well, it depends on what you mean by negative. No, well,
I mean that you believe that what I mean is that your attitude towards the position is that it is more likely to be false than true, perhaps.
Yeah, I can have a negative. Yeah, of course I want to have a negative attitude.
So it is your position.
Wait, hold on.
I'm just trying to understand your worldview, your view here. And maybe I shouldn't use the word worldview because you don't like that. But it sounds like what you're saying is that you think the proposition Vishnu exists is false.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and yet you just agreed with me earlier that Vishnu exists. Sounds like you're contradicting yourself.
Yeah, there's not a contradiction, because remember, when we're talking about like assertions, right, we need to actually make a distinction between what's it called, statements and sentences. So a sentence can be like meaningful, right, and it can have some object.
Yep, that's why we were talking about propositions.
Yeah, but proposition and sentence are not the same thing. If I have a sentence, right, and the sentence says the King of France presently exists, right, that can be meaningful and have some correlation within my mind itself, but it doesn't mean that I'm asserting about it actually existing. That's legit conflation. You know that, right?
Sorry, one more time. I'm trying to fix my A key because it just popped off.
My point is, right, when you have, for example, Spider-Man, Vishnu, and all of these individuals, they're taken to be as object of thoughts, right? So you can have an object of thought within your mind itself without any assertion which is being made by it.
Okay,
right?
Yeah. So look, and maybe you can just. Yeah, sure. So
okay,
and I can take this down. It's fine. So you've given you've provided me with an understanding of what you mean when you say that a thing exists, right? Like it could be an object of thought, it could be a concrete object. Perhaps it's a number. I don't know on your worldview what numbers are, if they're objects of thought or if they're perhaps abstract and not objects of thought. But anyway, there's a lot of different ways that a thing could exist. Am I correct in your understanding?
There's a lot of different ways where things exist.
Like it could be a concrete object, it could be abstract, it could be, at least two different ways that a thing could exist. Is that
Yeah, and existence is being used analogically here, not univocally.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I
have no idea how you're going to use existence analogically. What are you using it analogically? What are you making an analogy with?
So analogy. So an existence. So the analogy.
A thing can't be analogically used to refer to itself. Like that's.
I never said existence.
Well, so what is the what
used
is
to refer to existence.
so
I
existence
said
is being used
existence.
analogically to refer to what?
I said okay. I'm legit telling you that, and you just
Please.
interrupted me. Okay, so why are you interrupting me? Yeah, so existence, right, is being used analogically, such that there's going to be a commonality between things, right, such that it has being, but the mode of being is going to differ corresponding to the nature in which the thing has.
Yeah, sure.
That's
That's
what I
fine.
mean by that. Okay, so
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so
you know, I don't say like
there-
a contemporary understanding of like existence.
Oh,
All right.
okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to understand what your view is. So, okay, so when you say that a thing exists, there is some sense in which it has being, right?
When I say a thing exists,
Yep.
right, there's no assertion which is being made all the time, right? So it does have existence, right? But the existence is going to be something which exists in the mind itself. That's what it means.
Well, I mean, that's not true about all things that you say exist. Like when you say that, you know, your house or your home exists, you're not saying that it exists only within the mind. You're saying that
No.
it has concrete being, right?
I said not all the time when you say.
Yeah, okay, I misheard you then. That's my bad. Okay, so yeah. So that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't always have to be concrete.
Okay, it doesn't always have to be concrete.
So then I'll ask you again. Would you say, does Vishnu have being?
I can say Vishnu has being.
Okay.
Right, but that's
Vishnu
going
has
to be
being.
Yeah,
I
but that's not
understand that
going
it's
to
a
be.
different kind of being, perhaps, than the kind that you think, than the kind that you think your house has, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I say Vishnu has being, right, this is going to be a sentence, right, which is being expressed by me.
Okay,
Right.
I'm referring.
But
So
it isn't-
we can make a predicate out of it. If you're, I don't know what your stance is on whether or not existence or being can be a predicate. Do you have a stance on that?
Like existence, I don't take existence to be a predicate. No, I don't take existence to be a predicate.
Okay.
But-
What about
but
has
the point
being?
about
Do
making
you take
it-
has being to be a predicate?
As being can be treated as a predicate in some cases, but that doesn't
Can
mean
it be
that I
treated
take
as a
to be
predicate in this case?
It can, but
Okay,
trying
so then
to
I'm
give
referring
an
to the
explanation of what I said
proposition.
earlier.
I'm referring to the proposition has existence X, where X is Vishnu.
Yeah, I'm saying that's not going to be a proposition which is being asserted by me. You know that, right? I'm making a decision between
I'm asking what your attitude is towards that proposition.
the attitude towards the proposition. Well,
Yeah.
the proposition isn't going to
Has
be.
being.
The proposition is going to be like ill-informed. It's not going
How
to be
is
a,
the proposition? So
because
predicates.
the proposition, because even when we take your view, like for example, even
Yeah,
with
sure, go ahead.
I'm saying even if we take your view, right, when
Mm-hmm.
you have a proposition, right, and you're attributing some predicate towards the subject within the proposition,
Mm-hmm.
it's implying that the subject does exist. So when you're saying that, oh, Vishnu has been or Vishnu has this, it is implying that the thing exists in order for us to say it doesn't exist. And that isn't what's being stated by me at all. I'm saying that when we have, for example, sentences which are distinct from propositions,
I understand.
sentences can be grammatically okay. So if you understand that, then you can understand that when I'm making that statement, I'm not statement but sentence, right? When I
Look,
answer that sentence,
I
then I'm
know
not
that you
committed
don't
in
want it
my
to be a proposition. I understand.
hold on. Let me learn. Meaning that if you understand that I make that, I enunciate that sentence, then it isn't going to follow that is going to be my worldview such that Vishnu does exist.
Look, so what I'm trying to get at is there is like, it sounded like earlier, just a minute ago, you said that the proposition Vishnu has being is ill-informed. Can you elaborate on what makes it ill-informed?
It makes it ill-informed because it's presupposing that the subject, right, exists when we're saying the subject doesn't exist.
Wait,
So
hold
if
on. I'm sorry. So
individual-
then, in what way could what way has being be made into a predicate then?
So when I'm saying is ill-informed, I'm speaking about it in relation to the person uttering the statement itself. You know that, right?
So no, I have no idea what you mean because
Yeah,
you
so
kind
I
of
believe our
mumbled the last few words.
propositions-
But go ahead.
Yeah. So when I'm saying it's ill-informed, so the ill-formedness is going to be constructed by the agent, right? Which makes that statement itself.
The
That's what I mean
ill-formedness is
when-
constructed by the agent. I have no idea what that means. As far as I'm concerned, we would say that something
When we're
is
saying it's
ill-informed
ill-informed-
if perhaps like there is information missing, something
No,
like that.
Look, when I'm saying is ill-informed, I'm saying that the fault is going to be in relation to the person making the statement itself, uttering the sentence.
Okay,
That's
so
why I mean
regarding the predicate has being, do you take it that there are sentences that, or do you take it that there are propositions that include has being as a predicate that are not ill-informed?
Sure, it really depends on
how. Give me an example?
Give an example
of a proposition that has as perhaps one of the predicates in the proposition has being.
Has being.
Yeah.
Repeat that again, bro. I don't get what you're asking me. You're saying that you want an example,
of a proposition where one of the predicates that you can find within the proposition, maybe it's a compound proposition, whatever. One of the predicates that you can find within it is the predicate has being, and still the proposition is not ill-informed.
That isn't what I'm saying. I'm not saying the proposition. That's not the point.
You absolutely said that the proposition Vishnu has being is ill-informed. Those were your words, not mine.
Because I believe our propositions is going to pertain to the act of judgment itself. It's not going to be something which exists outside of the mind. So when I'm saying that
so the proposition itself doesn't have the property of ill-informed.
Hold up. No, the property. The point is we're talking about correctness conditions, right? And we're saying that it's not going to be correct, right? That the statement which the individual is enunciating is going to be the case, right? Because that's not what they mean. I have no idea
what that means.
That's what.
Talk slower. I have room
you
temperature
know what I
IQ,
mean?
apparently.
So you don't know what Schosen speaks about when he's speaking about like sentences, right? It can express a proposition, but when someone expresses a sentence, right, the proposition that the person is trying to express can error given what the person is trying to say by. You don't know what Schosen means.
I'm not trying to refer to a sentence. I'm specifically referring to a proposition. Vishnu
and you don't believe a proper you don't take propositions to be abstract objects, right? So
look, this is all within your worldview. I'm not asking you.
I'm
not asking you within my worldview, because within my worldview, there's like within the way I define these words and within the way I use these words, it's a whole separate conversation. But so I'm trying to work within the way that you define things. I'm trying to be like maximally charitable here. So within the way that you define things, I imagine, is it the case that that there's a proposition that you could write down that is Vishnu has being?
Is a proposition, and yeah, of course there's going to be a proposition, which you right now it says that Vishnu has being.
Okay,
but when I was saying,
what is your attitude towards that proposition?
What is my attitude towards that proposition?
Yeah.
The attitude towards that proposition is going to be that is going to negate the statement itself.
Okay, so your attitude is that the proposition is false?
The proposition, I'm not saying the proposition is false.
Well, that's what I was asking. Do you like when I say your attitude towards the proposition?
I'm saying, look,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me look, for example. So we can say the proposition is false, right? But we wouldn't be committed to the idea that what's it called, like Vishnu does exist. When I'm saying it's false, right? I'm saying when we have a proposition to say Vishnu has being, right? We can just like generalize it in relation to like quantified statements. For example, we could say that there exists an X, right, such that there's only this X, right, and X has this property, right? And when we look at these like statements which is being involved, right, we're saying the first statement is not going to be true because all of these three statements are going to be necessary, right, and jointly sufficient, right, for any proposition to be truth apt, right? But the point is, it's not going to be a proper proposition in relation to me.
Okay, so when you say a proper proposition, what do you mean by proper?
It means that it's a proposition which is truth apt.
Okay, so you think that you can have propositions that aren't truth apt?
If it's not, it'll be, yeah, sure. If propositions, appearances of propositions, are going to be non-truth.
What do you mean appearances of propositions?
So a proposition
Are you referring to like sentences that somebody might be confusing for a proposition?
A sentence which appears to be like a proposition, but then when you analyze it, it isn't going to be a proposition given.
Yeah, so that's why I asked you, that's why I was very specific. Is it a proposition that you can write down, Vishnu has being? And you agreed, but now it sounds like you're saying that actually this is not the kind of thing that's truth apt, so it's actually not a proposition.
I already told you, when you're asking me, can you do this, right?
Yeah, like, is this a proposition?
I can write it down. I can write it down. Because someone might take that to be a proposition because in
I'm not asking what somebody takes to be a proposition. I'm just asking, is it one or not?
You're saying, can you? You asked me something modal. If it's possible for me to do. What do you mean, oh my God? Did you not ask me a modal question?
I was trying to be look, because if I
Wait,
say,
you not
can
ask me
you
a model
say?
question? Okay, so can I
If
do
I
it?
say,
Yeah,
can you
it's
say? Then you're
possible.
like, oh, well, that's oh, like, yeah, you could say it, but that doesn't make it a proposition. So what I'm trying to ask you is it the case that, you know, do you think that propositions are things that exist?
No, wait, did you not ask me a model question? You said, can you do it? I just gave you
That wasn't what I was intending.
I can't do it.
That
Okay,
wasn't
then
what I
what
was
was you trying
intending.
to
I wasn't intending. Can you write down? Actually,
What
so
was you meant then?
it still actually would still work even if you take it to be modal. So is it
Okay, go
is
on.
it true that you can write down a proposition Vishnu exists or Vishnu has being?
Is it true that I can do it? And what do you mean by is it true here? Are you saying that, what do you mean by true here?
It's a primitive, my guy.
No, when you're saying is it true, right?
Is this a thing that you can do?
Is this a thing I can do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so
I
you can write down the
If
proposition Vishnu has being.
if someone tells me to write this proposition,
By the way, that implies that Vishnu has being, or that implies that Vishnu has being is a proposition.
that doesn't imply there's a proposition.
Sure,
When I'm
it is,
saying
otherwise
write down
it's
the
not
proposition,
something you can do.
If someone takes, if you're taking it to be a proposition and I write it down, right, based upon what you're asking me to do,
I'm just asking, look, I'm not taking a position on whether it's a proposition at all. The point is I asked you, can you write down a proposition Vishnu has being? And you said, yeah. Which implies that Vishnu has being is a proposition. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to write down a proposition Vishnu has being.
I already told you it's logically possible, but I'm telling you that it wouldn't be a proposition. So when you ask me the question earlier,
then it's not so it's not logically possible then that you can write down a proposition Vishnu has being if Vishnu has being is not a proposition.
Yeah, and that's the distinction. And that's
there's a derivable contradiction.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you're not listening. That's the point that I was going to give to you now, right? Because when you asked me the question earlier, can I do this? Yeah, if someone takes it to be a proposition, right, then of course, right, I can write that proposition down. That's what I thought you was asking here. But then when you ask me the question now, again, oh yeah, like, can you write this proposition down? Of course I can't write this proposition down because it's not going to be a proposition. So of course it can't be written down.
So it is your contention that it's just not, it's a non-propositional statement
It's
to
not
say
a
that Vishnu
proposition,
has
it's
being.
It's just
non-propositional sentence. Fine.
I can write, but wait, hold on. Bear in mind, right? I can write down the sentence, right? Vishnu has been.
Obviously,
it wouldn't be a proposition.
Look, I understand you can write down the sentence. So can you write down
that's
the
what I meant by it.
Can you write down the sentence, or can you write down a proposition that reads, "God has being"?
That reads God has being.
Yeah, that is the representation of the proposition in the English language.
The representation of the proposition.
Yeah, if you take a proposition to be an abstract thing, then the proposition is represented in some language. In this case, in English.
Yeah, the sentence can appear to express a proposition, but it wouldn't be a proposition.
Yeah. So is there a proposition? And look. I don't know what the issue is here. Like it seems like
because
the dodging is really problematic here.
It's not dodging. It's not dodging.
Okay.
No, because propositions.
So in the same sense that Vishnu has being is non-propositional. What about the sentence God has being? Is that non-propositional?
Is that going to be non-propositional?
Yeah.
God has being, right? And if you take him notional, it's going to be propositional.
Okay, so we're just special pleading here.
There's no special pleading. I can give
absolutely. So Vishnu has being is non-propositional. So
the reason why
makes it truth apt, but Vishnu has being is not truth apt.
The reason why
enormous blunder. Like that's like insane.
The reason why I can give you the reason why. I don't know why I interrupted.
Yeah, please.
The reason why I can say that the proposition God exists has being, right? That's going to be propositional. Because I can reason from the effects to the cause for me to conclude that God exists. Whereas, right, it cannot be the case, right? No, if I reason from the effects to the cause that God exists, and there's going to be other information which shows that Vishnu doesn't exist, right, then it cannot be the case that if I state the sentence Vishnu has being is going to be propositional. Because given what I just demonstrated, it's not going to be the case. It
would just be false. It would just be false that Vishnu has being.
It wouldn't. What? It wouldn't be false. Wait. So you say, well, are you treating being?
So wait a minute. Are you telling me it's not false that Vishnu has being?
Wait, hold on. Are you treating being as a predicate here? Are you treating
that
as a?
You just did when you said that God has being.
I said being can be treated as a predicate.
Yeah. Right? So in the sentence, God has being. You're treating has being as a predicate here.
Let me land. Grammatically, it's being treated as a predicate. Yes. Right, but that doesn't mean that we're saying existence is going to be something which is part of God.
I didn't say existence, I said has being.
it has being or has existence is going to be synonymous here, right? So I can interchange between both. So has being, right, doesn't mean that being is going to be something which is part of it. You know that, right? It's not going to be like some feature which is super added to.
Yeah, sure. That's why I'm. So then, in what way can?
So it wouldn't be,
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. In what sense then can has being be a predicate?
So has be because predicates.
If it's not a feature, if existence is not a predicate, and existence is synonymous with having being, then it seems like that having being can't be a predicate.
Because predicates and features are really distinct, and the feature here is going to be properties. Oh my goodness, can I please speak?
You can. I'm allowed to laugh though.
You can laugh, right? But you laughing is just going to show about what you just said make no sense. So, Are you saying that predicates and features are not going to be like distinguished?
They can be.
Okay, so if they can be, right, that means when we say, like, for example, we have a sentence, right? Let's say, let's say we have a sentence, right? Spider-Man is, Peter Parker, right? Or Spider-Man is fun, right? We can see that within the sentence itself, right, there's going to be a subject predicate form, right?
Yeah.
And do you believe that that's going to be a proposition?
Sorry, what was the actual sentence that you said?
The sentence subject.
Spider-Man has something, or Spider-Man is something.
So when we have Spider-Man is going to be the subject, and we say no, he has a car, right?
Spider-Man has.
Is that going to be a proposition? Okay,
yeah, I would take that to be a proposition. Sure.
And do you take exist? You said existence earlier is going to be a predicate, right?
I was just trying to use whatever you were using.
No. You said existence is going to be a predicate, right?
No,
so
I'm agnostic on the issue. But I'm trying to work within your understanding.
When I asked you earlier if existence goes, you take existence to be a predicate. You said yes. You could be agnostic about it and still lean to one side over the other. The reason why I'm a little bit perplexed here. Hold on. I let you do your bit. So look, the reason why I'm confused is because you said it has being can be a predicate, but you also said that has being is synonymous with has existence. Why are you interrupting?
And so how can it be that has being can be a predicate?
Why are you interrupting?
Has existence can't be a predicate.
Why are you interrupting me?
Because it's my turn to talk.
No, it isn't my turn. What? It's not your turn to talk. What are you talking about?
It is. Yeah, that's why I was interrupting you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been interrupting you if it wasn't my turn to talk.
How is it your turn to talk if I haven't finished making my point?
Because I interrupted you.
Okay, so it's my turn to talk, and you just interrupted me so you can have a turn to talk.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so then it's my turn to talk, so I don't know why you interrupted me. So anyways.
Because it's my turn to talk, that's why I interrupted you.
Yeah, but okay, so you interrupted me without me finishing the point. So what point was I going to give?
I think that you were just confused about my point, which is actually why I interrupted you.
How can you. So you think I'm confused about something which I haven't finished making my point? So what was
because
I
you
confused
were
about?
addressing my view of whether or not existence is a predicate, but the point I was making had nothing to do with my view.
Well, the point was, okay, of course the point which I was making had nothing to do with your view, but my view is that predicate can be treated as a predicate such that it's going to be something contained in a grammatical sentence, right? Grammatical sentences doesn't necessarily mean that just because the individual writes it down as a sentence, it's going to be propositional. That's what I mean by that, right? And
obviously,
you earlier, obviously, that's the whole point. But when you
just because you can write something down doesn't make it a proposition.
Okay, but when we have a sentence,
nobody's confused about this.
Well, you are confused about it because when I said
literally not.
Existence can be treated as a predicate.
Understanding or paying attention.
So if I say existence can be treated as a predicate, right, within a grammatical sentence, does it mean that I'm saying that existence is going to be a feature super added to God?
Well, I generally, are you asking me for my view, or are you asking you under your worldview?
I'm talking about in relation to me. I'm talking about my worldview.
So I assume that in your worldview, you take existence to not be a feature of a thing.
Okay, so if existence is not going to be a feature of a thing, and then when we say non-existence, right, is non-existence going to be, something which is going to be like a okay?
On your worldview, I suspect not. Like on the way that you use these terms. But look, so
if existence,
and maybe I can just clarify, and because I don't know why you keep bringing this up. My point is that earlier it sounded like you said that you can use has being as a predicate. Do you still agree with that?
It can be treated as a predicate within a
Does that mean that has being can appear as a predicate in a proposition?
It can appear as a predicate in a proposition.
Okay. Now, you also said that has being... You also said that has being is synonymous... Please let me finish. You also said that has being is synonymous with has existence or does exist.
Yeah, my point is... is that has being, right, or has existence.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry, I wasn't done. Did you say that or did you not say that? That they can be synonymous.
You just said earlier. What?
That has being and has existence can be synonymous.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm negating. What do you think I'm negating?
So then it therefore follows
what do you think I'm negating?
that has existence can be a predicate, right?
Has existence can be a predicate within a grammatical census. That's what I stated.
Yeah. So to be clear, you agree that has being can be a predicate within a proposition. No. You said has being can be a predicate within a proposition. You also said that has being is synonymous with has existence, and now you're rejecting. At least that's what it sounds like. You're rejecting that has existence can be a predicate within a proposition, unless you think has existence can be a predicate within a proposition.
No, I said has being or has existence can be treated as a predicate which is contained in a sentence, right? But that doesn't mean that if it's a predicate, that isn't that. That's what I was trying to negate, you idiot. When you asked me, is this the case? To be clear, and no, we don't.
To be clear, you don't think that has being can be a predicate within a proposition?
I'm saying has being. It's not going to be a predicate in a proposition because existence.
Oh, so now you're just contradicting yourself. Because earlier, and people can rewatch the replay because this is going on YouTube. Earlier, earlier you definitely said has being can be a predicate within a proposition. In fact, I think you said it not like 45 seconds ago. And we can just listen to the replay if you want.
And I'm clarifying.
Okay, so you don't think that has being can be found as a predicate in a proposition.
I'm making a distinction. Oh my goodness.
So then it's just not the case that the it's just not the case that the sentence God has being is truth apt.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, again, you're equivocating.
No, I'm just using the words as you define them.
You're equivocating. When I'm saying that, okay, so when I'm speaking about a predicate in a proposition, it's going to be distinct from a predicate within a grammatical sentence.
I'm aware. I'm very aware. That's why I'm very specific about the proposition being founded or the predicate being founded in a proposition. I'm very, very clear about this.
Calm down. And when you asked me earlier, is that has being be treated as a predicate, and then you said
within a proposition. To be clear, I said 2 minutes ago I asked you whether or not being is a predicate that can be found within a proposition.
I said no, and then when I was trying to explain to you, you interrupted me.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to mute you just for a second so then we can replay the live.
Okay, replay the live, bro.
Yep. Predicate within a proposition. Unless you think can be a predicate within a proposition. Hold on, I just want to get to the part where I asked you the question.
Senses, that's what I stated.
Yeah, so to be clear, you agree that has being can be a predicate within a proposition. Oh, we have to go back further. Maybe it's like 3 minutes? Well, I generally... Are you asking me to assume that it's
going to be a feature thing?
That you use these terms? Why you keep bringing this up as being as a predicate? Okay, here we go. Earlier that...
It can be treated as a predicate within a...
Does that mean that has being can... You also said... After that, let me finish. You also said that has...
Yeah, my point is that has being, right, or has...
Can be synonymous. Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry, I wasn't done. Did you say that or did you not say that? That they can be synonymous? Can be synonymous.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm negating. Grammatical senses, that's what I stated.
Yeah, so to be clear, you agree that has being can be a predicate within a proposition. No. You said has being can be a predicate within a proposition. You also said that has being is synonymous with has existence, and now you're rejecting. At least that's what it sounds like. You're rejecting that has existence can be a predicate within a proposition, unless you think has existence can be a predicate within a proposition.
No, I said has being or has existence can be treated as a predicate which is contained in a sentence, right? But that doesn't mean that if it's a predicate, that isn't. That's what I was trying to negate, you idiot. When you asked me,
just to be clear,
no, we don't.
To be clear, you don't think that has being can be a predicate within a proposition?
I'm saying has being. It's not going to be a predicate in a proposition because existence.
Oh, so now you're contradicting yourself.
Where did I see you, idiot? Where did I see you? See, you dumbass. You see? Stop interrupting me.
Where did I see? Did you not hear it? Did we not hear it?
I said has being. You also said that is not going to be a predicate because it's in the proposition.
You agreed to it in the replay.
No, I didn't. Replay again. Go on. Replay again.
Okay, I have to go. Does that mean that has being can appear as a predicate in a proposition?
It can appear as a predicate in a proposition.
Okay, now here.
I was legit reiterating what you were saying.
Does that mean that has being can appear as a predicate in a proposition?
It can appear as a predicate in a proposition.
Okay. You just said it.
Bro, oh my goodness, bro. When I'm saying it can appear in a predicate as a proposition, I already explained to you that it's logically possible for someone to treat as a predicate in a proposition. That's what I said to you earlier. I don't know why you actually... That doesn't mean I treat it as a predicate. within a proposition. There's
So
a distinction.
being,
you know that,
okay,
right?
to be clear,
So
if
exactly.
if
So
we
you're
were
taking terms of
if we were miscommunicating with each other, that's fine. I just want to know your position. Do you think
I already
that
told you my position. I said.
okay?
I
So
said,
now is your position that has being cannot appear as a predicate in a proposition?
I was, bear in mind, I was repeating what you said. That's what I typically do, so I can understand what's being said. I said
then
to
you can
you,
clearly understand
I
the
said to
confusion
you,
then, right? When you
shush,
just
bro.
said the
I
thing that
told
you
you,
said that
I-
you said that you disagreed with.
Oh my goodness, bro. I said the predicate being can be treated as a proposition. When you first
Predicate in a
initially asked me,
proposition.
it's logically possible, right, for someone to say that a predicate has, like, predicate being is going
For
to be
someone to
proposition.
say,
I'm sick. Oh my
That's so
goodness.
slimy.
What do you mean? Legit qualify.
it's logically possible for someone to say that. No, I'm just asking, can being actually be a predicate in a proposition?
I already told you it isn't. Like, existence is going to be treated as a predicate in a proposition because existence isn't going to be a predicate.
Okay,
That's
so
what I
has,
said to
so,
you.
so
And I told you earlier,
existence can
start
also not be
interrupting me,
used
bro.
as a predicate in a proposition.
Why are you interrupting me?
Because I'm trying to get to the heart of the matter, and you seem to be
No,
dodging.
you're not, because you keep interrupting me and you don't understand.
I'm
the
really trying to get to the heart of the matter. So
Oh, you really don't? Is that why you were scared?
So
that
has
I
being.
actually said it's going to be a grammatical sentence.
So has being cannot appear as a predicate in a proposition?
Is, in my view, no.
Right, okay, so it is. So the statement God has being is not truth apt.
Is not truth apt. No, it's not going to be truth. It's not going to be truth apt.
Okay, we'll
because
take it
what
there.
we mean by
We'll take it there. I think it's probably time to end the live, but we'll take it. We'll take that as a concession. Like, I mean, come on. If your worldview amounts to, you can't say that God has being is truth apt, or like that sentence is truth apt, then you can't even say you can't say as a formal proposition that God exists is a true proposition. You can't say that. Like, I don't know, man. It was like nearly an hour of seemingly bad faith equivocation. And like, it'll go up on YouTube. If I was being bad faith, if I was being whatever, like disingenuous, or if I was misunderstanding something, somebody will let me know. And I'd be happy to take it back, and I'd be happy to be like, you know what, G1 was right, I was confused about this. But like, I don't see it, man. Yeah, I did kick you. It's like almost noon, and I have to end the live at noon. So, like, yeah, I did. You were on for 55 minutes, right? From Brian Astrobeal with the $5. If God is all necessary, why is his will his will is all necessary? He can't choose otherwise. So in what meaningful sense is he all powerful? Well, that's where the conversation started, and we were actually just trying to figure out what words mean. And it seemed like the definition that he was offering was it was at least very confusing to me. From Christopher, and maybe I just have room temperature IQ, and so that's why it was confusing to me. From Christopher Sanford with the £5, what is your attitude to the proposition Jordan Peterson has a half chub listening to the guy who made the question? My attitude is that it's true. From Ekipo with the €5. Whenever I hear stupid Philbro like that, I always think, do I leave my put my polyester cotton trousers on or off? Yeah, right? I mean, like, look, I'm sure that Justin would love to have that conversation with G1, but I don't know if I would. From Game Master Flash with the $5, I always shake my head at the amount of navel-gazing Philbros think it requires to know a supposedly obvious God exists. And like, look, I'm happy. I'm absolutely happy to like use whatever definitions people are using to have the conversation, which is why I was trying to figure that out. But the definitions that he was giving me just seem like they lead to something that he doesn't want to say. He doesn't want to say that the statement God has being is truth apt, which is like, or that God exists is truth apt. Like, I don't know. And, you know, maybe I'm just being like naive about what truth aptness is, and you know, it can still be a true statement even if it's not a truth apt as a proposition. Like maybe I'm just being naive in that regard, but it's just very, very confused. At least it seems that way. From Christopher Sanford again with the £5, theists. I'm talking to you. Theists, I'm talking to you. Do you really seriously think that this lying, BS, equivocation, and dodging is in any way persuasive of your God claim? Yeah, I think, and look, so I think what happens when we do this kind of like really deep semantic kind of conversations that lead to like, you know, what this means and whether it's a proposition or whether it's a sentence, these kinds of things. I think what the goal is, because the goal isn't to convince the audience, the goal isn't to convince the interlocutor, because generally those kinds of things don't actually convince anybody. The goal is to try to catch somebody, which is, you know, it's, to be fair, it's what I did. Try to catch somebody in a you know, in a contradiction and be like, aha, your argumentation failed against my argumentation, and therefore I am more reasonable than you. I mean, that's really what that came down to. And you know, of course I did that. Like that's the game. If he wants to start the game, I'm of course gonna play it. But it's never gonna convince anybody, right? Like I don't think that kind of reasoning has ever convinced a single person, right? From Bacon and Bush sending 5 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships, which is very much appreciated. Thank you so much, Bacon and Bush. What this means is 5 more people now have access to all of the perks that come with memberships, like access to my debate notes, or access to the secret channel in the Discord server, or access to the emojis, or access to the members, subscribers, whatever, only Ask a Physicist live streams that happen after the regular ones for an hour and a half twice a week. So thank you, Bacon and Bush, and thank you to everybody who is now a member. I hope you keep with it. From Jack Fetter with the $2. So how will we know if someone won? Well, you'll know that someone will either look flustered, or so either I will look flustered or I will declare victory. Those are the 2 win conditions. Either I look flustered, in which case I lost, or I declare victory, in which case I won. Right? I mean, like it's all a meme, right? All right. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Cash App wise, I think actually I did. Let me just double check. From Casey, I won't dox you. Thank you, Casey, for the $6.66. Happy Friday. God's not real. Fair enough, Casey. Your username is safe with me. Your last name is safe with me. Thank you so much. By the way, if you guys don't know, there is now a Venmo. It's just at BlitzPhD. It's pretty easy to find. And I'm just double checking that I didn't miss anything else because I'm not used to checking for Venmo. All right, I think that's everything. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching. It is Friday. I will be on FTFE's live stream on Saturday. I'll send an announcement when I do that. So make sure to join the Discord server if you want the announcement for when that live stream will be happening. Until then, I will